now recording. So welcome everyone. This is day 2 of our 2-day virtual 2021 summer reading program workshop. A quick introduction. I am Sue Lynn Jones. I'm the LSTA coordinator at the Nevada State Library. My co-hosts today are Bruce Douglas and Norma Fowler. Norma Fowler is the general consultant. Douglas focuses on early literacy. We all kind of overlap, so whatever you need, feel free to reach out to your favorite person, or however you want to do it. These are our work phones. We're all still working from home, so it's probably fastest and most efficient if you email us, and then we'll get right back to you. Here is our schedule for today.
Hey.
Yeah, if you could mute yourselves, or we'll mute you briefly. So, introductions and housekeeping. We have subject matter experts from Great Basin. Yesterday we had the Nevada Department of Wildlife. Today we have Great Basin, which is super exciting. Great Basin is known for its dark skies, and I believe our guests will be sharing about how all of our little animals in Great Basin live in that environment. We have Nick Glass from Teaching Books, and he's going to be leading our diversity and inclusion panel session. Kim Davick, who's also from Teaching Books, Book Connections. It's the same product. This is a statewide database. You all have access. She's just going to be talking about how you can use Teaching Books in your summer reading programs. Terri Farley, super exciting. She is an author. She writes young adult novels. She has several series. She has a nonfiction title. She's also a wild horse advocate. She'll be here at 11. Then we'll do sharing. Okay. Yes, here are our guidelines. So again, please mute your mic. It just makes it easier to hear. Try not to multitask. That's what I did yesterday when I shared my email. I was trying to answer an email, so it's just better not to, and I'm living proof of why you shouldn't. If you are able to, I already mentioned it, just kind of add your library to your name. If you're going to share and talk and you have a camera, pop it in. And then, yes, put your questions in chat. We will be monitoring chat. So,
and I just, yes, it was just funny because I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was so funny because she was trying to make me feel better about her not coming over here because she's like, oh, it's just a space.
All right, there we go. Sorry, thanks. Bruce, will you put this into chat? If you filled this out yesterday, you don't need to do it again. We're just going to put it here now. This is a requirement by IMLS. IMLS is our sponsor. They fund most of our continuing education events. Just a couple quick questions, and we aggregate results, and I report it out, and then we use your comments to figure out what we're going to do next year. Okay. It looks like we have a poll coming up. Do you want to do a poll, or do you just want to go right to Ms. Aviva O'Neill with Great Basin? Let's just go straight right in. Where are you?
So this is Aviva. Hi, everyone. Charlie is actually going to start our presentation, and then I'll pick up after him.
Okay, so would you like to start sharing now? Should I just stop this? Stop my share?
I'm good to go now if you want me to, or if you guys have something else planned, that's fine too.
Oh no, please go ahead. I was just gonna, this was just your intro screen. I'll just stop sharing it and let you talk. Yes, so we have Charles Reed from Great Basin National Park. He is the park ranger there. I have your title, Astronomy Program Lead Ranger, Great Basin National Park. Okay. Yes, please take it away, Charlie. Thank you.
Okay, it's not letting me do a screen share. Is there something I can do to fix that?
Yes, that's my fault. I thought I had allowed that. Maybe now?
There we go. Alrighty. And just to confirm, are you guys seeing the Great Basin National Park website?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Alrighty, guys. Well, thank you all for inviting Great Basin National Park. My name is Charlie Reed. I work here at Great Basin National Park as the astronomy lead ranger. My duties involve a lot more than astronomy, though. But we do about 4 astronomy programs a week during the summer, and we do cave tours almost every single day in a normal year. And of course, we all understand that normal is quite far away from what we experience nowadays. But to that end, we also try our hardest to engage people in many different fashions, and that's where our partnership with Aviva O'Neill, but particularly the Great Basin National Park Foundation comes in. The National Park Foundation helps us with particularly our education and our outreach, because we are such a small park that covers such a area of a community. The Great Basin National Park Foundation is significantly important in helping us out with our education outreach. But what I wanted to do is just kind of give you a brief overview about what Great Basin National Park is, what kind of people look for coming to this park, and then make you familiar with our junior ranger programs. Because when it comes to education with children at the park, and even you could in your classrooms or in your libraries, we tend to rely on our junior ranger programs for kids to explore and to really get involved with environment that they're in. But just a basic overview of Great Basin National Park. It's a relatively small park. It's a 77,000 acres in northeast Nevada of the South Snake Range. It was chosen, that area was chosen, one, because a national monument existed there before this national park, Lehman Caves National Monument, but also everybody agreed that it was a really great representation of the Great Basin as a whole. Because I'm sure, as many of you know, the Great Basin itself stretches from the Wasatch Mountains in Utah all the way over to the Sierra Nevadas in California, and down almost all the way to Las Vegas and up into Oregon. It's a huge area of the United States, and we're tasked with interpreting all of it in a small 77,000 acres. Within that 77,000 acres, we're known for a lot of things. You can probably see behind me, there it is. You can see behind me 2 of those things are bristlecones. The bristlecones are some of the oldest trees in the world, living on our night sky, and then our caves. Those are the 3 big things we're well known for, but in every one of those environments, animals live, animals thrive. Even inside the caves where there's no light, animals are thriving. Bats using entrances to the caves. Bats incredibly important for pollination. And then out in the darkness of the night sky of Great Basin National Park, we have things ranging from coyotes and of course bats, bobcats, mountain lions, and even the smaller little critters that use the darkness for protection from predators. So it's an incredibly diverse area with a lot of really great things going on. And as you can see, and I'm gonna call out Aviva right now. You can see Aviva's background. She has a daylight version of Great Basin National Park. That's Wheeler Peak with that. Is that Stella? That looks like Stella Lake, if I'm gonna guess correctly, Aviva, which is some of our high alpine areas. So it's an incredible place to visit. It's an incredible place for kids to go and explore. And so what I want to do now is kind of just show you what we have on our website for you to use. So on my screen share here, this is the Great Basin National Park website. And this is our opening page. And, but particularly what will be really of interest to educators is going to be going to plan your visit things to do, programs and tours, and junior ranger programs. And go ahead and click on that. And what that'll do is that'll get you to our nice and small junior ranger program page. But particularly on this page, there are two things that are great for you to explore. We have our junior ranger books in PDF form available for anybody to go in and fill out ahead of time or to be used in a classroom setting. The first one is the junior ranger book in relation to Great Basin itself, Great Basin National Park itself. And the second one is the junior ranger book for the National Night Program. Both of these can be used in many different fashions. Some of them have activities in them that pertain to being on the park, and a lot of activities are can be done at home, particularly pertaining to some animals. So the one I want to show you, the activity I want to show you that's in the Parks Junior Ranger book is, I believe it's the second activity. Yep, the second activity. Who lives where? Great Basin is extremely well known for having about 5 to 6 different ecosystems within the park, just because of elevation, how the elevation changes, it changes our ecosystems. And this activity here talks about some of our more famous animals throughout the park and discussing which of these alpine or which areas live in and why they live in those areas. So this is kind of a great mix and match game to really start to dive into why certain animals live where they do. So activities like this and others can be found in our Junior Ranger books on our website. And then of course, if they find themselves at the national parks or if you plan field trips to the national parks, park rangers are of course happy to look over these books, work with the children to award them their Junior Ranger badges or patches, which is always a great hit for the children. So that's kind of what we have on the park end for resources. And what I want to do is I want to pass it over to Aviva O'Neill, who once again is the program manager for the Great Basin National Park Foundation. And she heads up a lot of our education and outreach and has some fantastic lesson plans pertaining to animals and other things in the Great Basin itself. So Aviva, if you want to take it away, and I'll stop sharing.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. Hi, everyone. I'm Aviva with Great Basin National Park Foundation. Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, so my thought was for this morning to show you 4 specific activities that I think would work really well with the library summer reading program. And I know in discussions with Sue Lynn, she mentioned that, you know, with everything being so crazy this year, it might be that you don't know how the libraries are going to go, like whether it's going to be a summer reading in person, whether you'll have kids doing stuff remotely, maybe at home. So I'll be showing you 4 different activities, and some of them can be done quite well at home, and one of them really needs to be done in a group. So I'm going to share my screen, and okay, here we go, share. Okay, sorry about that, it took me a minute to see which, so if I can, so we're gonna first look at, I have a little video clip I'm gonna show you here, but before I do that, I'll explain this first lesson. It actually was a lesson that Charlie came up with, and it's been a huge success when we've gone to schools. And what it is an opportunity to teach kids about why darkness matters. So all of these lessons are on our web portal, which I'll be showing you. But in this particular one, you have an opportunity to teach children about several different species. And what we suggest is birds, which use stars to migrate, mountain lions, which use darkness for hunting, and baby sea turtles, which are not in the Great Basin, but as many of you probably have heard, sea turtles are often what people think of when they think of how light pollution affects wildlife adversely, because the sea turtles will lay their eggs into the sand, and generally at night they will hatch, and as they're coming up out of the sand, they are oriented towards looking for the light that's reflecting off the ocean from the moon or the stars. And that's where the little tiny cute little sea turtles will head to get to the ocean. They have only a short opportunity to do that before predators will eat them, or before they'll become desiccated and die because of the heat in the sun if they don't make it there during the night. And it's very well evidenced that light pollution from cities or any man-made light sources that are that would be confusing the sea turtles will often just make it so that they're heading in the wrong direction. They don't make it to the ocean and they perish. So, so in this lesson, you have an opportunity to teach, since it's the library reading program, I would assume you would select some books and read with the students or the children about some animals that you'll talk about later. And then what you can do is then just segue into how animals need different things to survive. And animals need to be able to hunt and to migrate and to have food and to have safety from predators. And that darkness is actually something that really helps animals survive. And if you want to bring Great Basin National Park into that, one of the things that's very neat to highlight is that Great Basin National Park has some of the darkest skies in the contiguous United States. So in the 48 United States, Great Basin has some of the very, very darkest skies, which is really neat that they have that right there in their state. And then the activity is, you basically are just using you can use a cone, or you could use anything to cover up. You're basically just going to print 3 pictures. One of them would have the item that the animal will need, and the other 2 are going to have city lights. And then I'll play this video. Basically, you're just going to tell the kids when they're outside that you want them to pretend to be this animal. And then when they are, whether they're a mountain lion trying to hunt, or a bird trying to migrate, or a sea turtle trying to get to the ocean, they're going to start in one place. They're going to head towards one of those cones, and you have the pictures hidden underneath them. You'll have the 3 cones. And then they'll be able to see if they made it there okay, or if light pollution disturbed their survival. And kids really like it. So I'm just going to play this little film clip so you can see what the kids how they react. So those guys were pretending to be little birds. Super, super easy, but also really, really fun for kids. And what we've done before is you can say like, okay, pretend to be a mountain lion and go on all 4s, or you're lunging for prey, so they get into the physical action of it. Let me share one more time here my screen. Okay, so these all are going to be on our website. So where you'll find everything that I'm talking about here is at greatbasinobservatory.org. And a project from the Great Basin National Park Foundation in conjunction with Great Basin National Park was to create the Great Basin Observatory, which is the first and only at this point research grade astronomical observatory in a national park. And so we do education and outreach through that, through the Great Basin Observatory and working with the park. So the next one I wanted to show you, so that last one was called Darkness Matters. And on the Darkness Matters one, you actually, let's just go in here and this is what the website will look like when you first get there. All of these are under I'm an Educator. Right now we have stuff separated into classroom lesson plans, and we're really trying to support teachers in the pandemic learning environment. So we have a special section for digital lesson plans. But within that classroom lesson plans, on the lesson type up here, there's a classroom lesson and there's also homeschool lesson. So like Darkness Matters would be under both, but if it turns out that you aren't able to have library programs in person, which I hope is not the case, but if it is, you could go to Darkness Matters on the homeschool version, which will be written a little bit differently and will have some slightly different resources associated with it. And so that might potentially be a good place to link kids into like a video that they might watch. There's one that actually Charlie made for us. That helps them, gives them some more background, and then it also will have a lesson plan associated with it that kids can really do by themselves at home. So either way will work out just fine. And I'm gonna go ahead and, this is right in my way there, okay. Okay, go to the next lesson I wanted to show you, which is about bats. So I'm gonna go back in here and go to my classroom lessons. This one is called Seeing with Ears, and it is on, also on, it's actually on a digital resource as well as the classroom resource. So obviously we have caves at Great Basin National Park. We have a bunch of really cool bat species, and what kids don't want to learn about bats, right? So, and there's all those great books about bats. So this activity is also super simple, very easy for doing with kids of different ages. And what I wanted to show you before I describe the activity is, so if you'll, when you go into these resources here, just notice that on here, the top here, there's these different tabs. So on the video tab here, so this lesson plan itself is very much for a classroom environment. So you wouldn't use it exactly like this in the library setting, but there's some great background information for yourself. You might want to watch these videos ahead of doing your program. And then this one specifically is a video made by, just show the beginning here. So on that one, she's gonna go over a whole bunch of great information in just 6 minutes on bats, and specifically bats that are living in Nevada, living in Great Basin National Park. But that's more for your personal reference. I don't think you necessarily would be showing that at the library program. But for that activity, what it basically is very simple. You would have a few blindfolds, and you can tell the kids that they can now try to be bats and use echolocation. So they would be playing a very slow game of tag, being a bat and being insects. So you could start maybe with having one child being blindfolded, they become the bat, and then everyone else is an insect, and they're simply, you know, have them spread out but not be too distant. Could be indoors, could be outdoors. And then the bat will click and, you know, say click, and then everyone else needs to respond and just do their response click. And so they use their ears through echolocation and their hands through trying to just feel to tag an insect. And the way we have it set is that a bat can take 2 steps each time they make their click and listen to the response, whereas the insect can only take 1 step away. So that's why it's kind of a slow game of tag, but they can use their, you know, try to check out what it would be like to use echolocation. And then you could add in more bats, so make it a little bit more challenging as you go, maybe have 2 or 3 bats with your different insects. Right, I'll share my screen again here. Getting good at the sharing screen now. And go on to my next lesson I wanted to share. This one is called Animal Olympics. This one can definitely be done independently at home or together at the library. And we have these cards that are going to go through different animals that live in Nevada and in the Great Basin area. And the children get to measure themselves against the animal. So all you really need is some measuring tapes and one place. We'll go through them here real quick. So there's an eagle, and basically they're going to measure what is their wingspan compared to the eagle's wingspan. A beaver, and they can learn that the beaver holds a breath for up to 15 minutes. How long can they hold their breath? So you would just need a way to measure the time there. And how far can they jump compared to how far a mountain lion can jump. That's where you could set up a measuring tape. An owl. Here you could have a little bell, and they blindfold. One student's blind, or one child's blindfolded and the other one has a bell. See if they can figure out where it's coming from. The pronghorn antelope, which is the fastest land mammal in North America. And how fast can they run compared to the antelope? So they would, once again, have a stopwatch, try to run, see how they do. A frog, how high can they jump? And the little bug here at the end, and can they do a headstand? You could always take that out if you don't want, if you think they're going to get hurt outside doing a headstand. So that one's called Animal Olympics. I think you could set it up in many ways, but it seems like it could be a really fun activity for a library program. Have little stations outside, have them go around, and we have a worksheet with it that you could adopt, or you could use it as it is, where they can write in how they did compared to the other animals. And our next lesson I'm guessing that a lot of you have done a food web before or seen this activity before. Here's a picture from a class. You can see from this child's face over here, and many of them that food webs are really fun for kids. They just love them. Great teaching tool, great interaction tool. Of course, this one can't really be done at home. You're gonna have to have your group here, and all you need is a string. So what we have on our website, this one is called Solar Web, and that's because a lot of the state standards have a standard about understanding that all living things rely on the sun for energy. So they would start with the sun and then take the string to go to the different levels of what's eating what. But you can take the sun out, you could just have it be animals. So basically, you know, it's very simple. You're learning about predator, prey, and decomposer. And we have a bunch of different animals here that each child would, you know, you could take these, print them up, and maybe put a string on it or just a clip so that they could have it in the front of them and be able to use their hands freely for holding the string. On this one, I would just recommend that you maybe take your ball of yarn or string ahead of time and just make sure that it's going to unravel kind of easily so that you can pass it from one child to the next, and eventually you make your web. Now, once you're in your web, my suggestion is that you take this opportunity to help kids understand better the connectedness between animals and within ecosystems. And how I like to do this is I would ask, you know, what do you guys think? Do you think that if we didn't have predators such as mountain lions, like how would that affect, you know, all the other animals and plants? And see if they can start to really critically think about that. And I'm going to stop sharing again. So basically what's a great way for you guys as adults to think about this is the idea that we've learned in science that apex predators have a huge impact on the ecosystem. And one of the best examples of this comes from Yellowstone National Park with the reintroductions of the wolves. So the wolves in Yellowstone were actually park managers many decades ago were taking out the wolves. And people didn't quite recognize how that impacted the ecosystem. It really wasn't until they reintroduced the wolves into the ecosystem that they could look back and see all the effects. And what happened is when you don't have your wolves in the ecosystem, the deer were overpopulating. When the deer were overpopulating, they were eating, you know, so many of the saplings or the bushes or whatnot. They were overgrazing, basically. Now the streams and creeks in Yellowstone will flow differently based upon the riparian species that are next to the banks. And when you had a lot of deer that were eating so many herbaceous species and saplings, the creeks didn't have as much vegetation along them, and so they didn't meander as much. They would actually flow more straight, and they would cut in more into the banks, which meant that fish didn't have the right habitat to spawn. So when you brought back the wolves, they actually learned that after several years, like after a decade, the rivers changed course. The creeks and the streams actually started to meander again, and the physical landscape was changed due to having that predator back in the ecosystem. So you basically, you reinstated the wolves, and that affected the fish. I think it's kind of so amazing and mind-blowing. There's a great TED Talk on it if you want to learn more. But so I like to do that with the kids, and I think it's great for them to understand, you can say something about, you know, a lot of kids think that decomposers are kind of, you know, icky or gross or whatever. So, you know, what would happen if we didn't have decomposers in our ecosystem? Well, then we would have a big problem with dead animals that didn't get recycled and put back into our system. So it's helpful for them to see those interactions and understand how each animal has its place in the ecosystem. And it's our job to help make sure that they continue to have the habitat they need so that those ecosystems and the animals that they love will stay healthy and happy. Okay, I'll just share my screen one more time here. And okay, we did that. So I wanted to end by showing you several things on the web portal. So once again, you just go to greatbasinobservatory.org, and this will be the website. And if you are going to do that first activity where you're teaching the kids about how dark skies are important for wildlife, another great resource for you would be this little box here, Preserve the Night Sky. It just has great information for you, really simple, easy information on why night skies matter for humans, for animals, for wildlife. So, and there's a fun section also for kids. And so let's say that if you, for example, can't do things in person, maybe you have to, I don't know if you'll be doing programs virtually or whatnot, but this could be a great resource where you know, they can go through and learn about light pollution and connect the dots here to make the Big Dipper. And on our I'm an Educator page, we do have many other lessons that I think would be great, and maybe at some other time for you to adapt into different programs. A lot of our lessons did stem from the, we started by stemming from astronomy. So it might be more based upon astronomy, physics, or light, or gravity. I selected the ones that were more ecology or animal based for today's presentation. Obviously that fits more with what you guys are doing, but I wanted you to just know about this in case it might be helpful for other things. And we are doing some virtual programs with schools. So if there's a need between now and the summer, if you do any after school stuff or stuff with students that you think for us to do a virtual program would be helpful, just get in touch with me. And you could always go through the let's see. I don't see that right now, but my email, I'm sure will be shared, right, Sulin? Will that be shared?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, we'll share your website and your email and Charlie's email. Is there anything, and links to the lesson plans? And we'll share the recording. Yeah.
And I don't know if we have time, but I'd love to answer any questions. I'm sure Charlie will too if we have any time for that.
We do. I think we have maybe 10 minutes for questions. So please put your questions in chat. That was wonderful. I just changed my background. Great Basin was pretty much the last place I went before lockdown. It was in February, and it was cold and it was beautiful. And I was so excited to be able to go back and do the whole night sky program during the summer. So I hope we can get back to that place soon. So just to make sure I understand, and we understand, everything that you shared, people can use freely, they can print out, they can link back to, right? All the videos, can they like embed and share?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you for sure are available for virtual presentations? Yes.
I am, yeah.
Okay. It does feel like so much of your stuff, I mean, a lot of our libraries do STEM programming, right? So STEM feels like it's just an everyday, every week sort of activity. So for sure, everything you just showed would fit into that. Yeah, any comments, any questions? Feel free. Bruce, do you have anything to add?
Since I originally came from Florida via Virginia, the park system out here is amazing. And it's not like the parks that I used to visit, like the ones in Florida and the ones in Virginia. It is still very wild, and the wildlife is amazing. And I hope everybody can, and the best part, this is one of the few social distancing things that people can do. And I think that I really appreciate the part about the diversity that Charles talked about on the mountain, you know, the elevations and everything, because I keep having to explain to my friends back home, yes, I live in a desert, but it still snows here, you know, and it's just an amazing opportunity here for learning. And, you know, and it's socially distancing. And if you guys can take advantage of everything this summer and push it hard out there for them to do, because I'm pretty sure people are going stir crazy in their houses and things like that. And being outside has been a real big healing, soothing kind of thing for me, because I'm usually stuck indoors. And you know, just being outside and moving is something that I think will help lower people's mental level anxieties. And the chance to spot animals and do it in a systematic way is amazing. And please take advantage of this, guys, and push it to your.
I mean, I just have a question for everyone here. I've read that some libraries are going to try and do outdoor programming this summer. And it feels like pretty much everything presented would be ideal for outdoor programming. Does anyone have any plans to make use of their outdoor spaces? I'm just looking in chat to see if Jesse in Boulder City says, no, too hot. They have a wonderful amphitheater. Too hot dirt parking lots. Yep, got you there. All right, here's a question. Do you have kits? This is from White Pine, so they are your closest neighbor library. Do you have kits or boxes that you share or check out?
Yeah, hi, is it Anne in White Pine?
I think it's Lori Williams.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we have made just this year, well, 2020, we distributed boxes to elementary school in White Pine and Millard County. So if you think that would be helpful to have in the library setting, let's chat together offline. Shoot me an email and let's talk by phone, because I think that would be great. I don't think we can do that to all of Nevada, but I feel like we can support that to our really local area.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through the comments.
We had a comment from Jamie. The Animal Olympics and the Animals Are Amazing activity with Stardust would pair well with the book Life Size by Sophie Henn. Nice.
Yeah. Great. Anything else, guys? This was so wonderful. Oh my gosh. I love our national parks too. I really do. And I love bats. Bats were always one of my favorite.
I,
Um,
I, think- I do have one last question to ask both of them. What animal activity, can people build bat boxes near their libraries and things like that possibly?
I would build
That's
a
a
bat
project.
box.
I can take that one, Aviva, if you want me to. Bat boxes are a fantastic activity for people to do with their children, or for the libraries. What I would recommend off the cuff from that question is I would recommend you go to BCI, Bat Conservation International. They're one of the biggest bat conservation groups. They're based out of Texas. They actually own one of the largest bat caves in the United States, Bracken Cave. But they have instructions on how to build bat boxes, and kind of hints and tricks to get bats interested in them, because a lot of people get bat boxes, get them made or make them, and then no bats inhabit them. There are actually some pretty simple hints and tricks that Bat Conservation International does go into very well to help you actually get them populated and not just have something hanging up on your wall. So I highly recommend that. And these are fun activities that we used to do in my old park, Carlsbad Caverns National Park, where we used to do with children, building bat boxes at the park. So it is definitely something children can get involved in. And it's a relatively easy thing for them to do, for sure.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. It is 10:53. We've got, oh, wait. It's 10:48 on my phone, 10:53 on my computer. Shall we thank our guests one more time and then maybe do a quiz and take a slight break before our next guests, our next presenters? Yeah. All right. Thank you, Aviva and Charles. I will be posting your information, or Bruce will be putting your information in chat too. Okay. All right. I'm going to put a poll up, and Bruce will be our quiz master. And then between now and 10, do we just want to do some polls? Just take little breaks? All right. Oh, here's one.
Animals viewing in progress. Your favorite place to see animals? In the wild outdoors, zoos, aquarium, wildlife sanctuary, wildlife cam, other. And I really wonder about other.
Other. In your backyard.
Yeah.
I pretty much got through this summer by watching the Katmai Brooks Falls Bear Cam. If anyone's ever seen that, you can watch the most massive brown bears I've ever seen catch salmon all day. And the river flow is always in the background. It's really, really soothing white noise, right? So you can listen to the white noise, watch bears catch salmon and rip their skins off and rip their heads off. It's quite fascinating. And then they do a biggest bear contest, fattest bear contest. And the winner this year, I think they figured he weighed over 1,400 pounds, which is about the size of a large multifamily refrigerator. So there's also a really, really good jellyfish cam. Norma shared that link a while ago when you just watch the jellyfish. All right, what are the results here? We have 86% of people voted.
Okay, and okay, we have leading the pack in the wild outdoors, 65% of you, and only the zoo only got 3% of the vote, and the aquarium got 10% of the vote, wildlife sanctuaries 5%, wildlife cam 15%, and other 3%.
Yeah, what is other? If you voted for other, share what that is. Okay, all right, we'll do one more poll. Let's see. All right.
Reference desk animals. Which animal is most asked about at the reference desk? Dogs, cats, horses, snakes, sharks, dinosaurs, other.
Dinosaur. Dinosaurs. Oh, I have 2 8-year-old bunnies in my home, somebody wrote. Oh. I used to have bunnies. They were wonderful. All right, we have voting. Votes are pouring in. What's your favorite dinosaur, Bruce?
Triceratops.
Triceratops. That was pretty good. You just came up with one. Boom.
What's yours?
I always liked the big old brontosaurus, which is now named something else, Apatosaurus, I think. And I don't know why. Like, I have no idea why I have a fondness for that one.
Big, vegetarian.
I know, right? Big, peaceful, just hangs out all day, munches plants. All right, shall we close the polling? I see 73% of people have voted.
Let's give it 10 more seconds.
Okay. If you voted for dinosaurs, put your favorite dinosaur in chat. Barney. No. Okay. All right. I'm going to end the polling.
Okay. And our winner is dinosaurs by 51%. Woo. Dogs are 23%, cats 9%, horses 3%, snakes 3%, which is surprising, sharks 11%.
Okay, sharks. Sharks are pretty cool too. Sharks are like, they feel just like dinosaurs. They're ancient.
Surprisingly, snakes was low. I thought it would be higher out here.
Ducky. Oh my gosh, my friend named her dog Ducky after Ducky. Velociraptors.
Megalodon. Okay, nobody said Godzilla. I'm really disappointed in you all.
Oh man, dude. All right, what time is it?
It is 9:54 according to my computer, and 9:55 according to my iPad.
Yeah, for some reason my laptop says 10 o'clock. So I hope we didn't start early because I was going based on my laptop. Anyway, let's do one more poll.
Oh, we got a brontosaurus. Cool.
Okay. I don't think we've asked this one.
Performers. What is the most popular type of performer in-person summer programs? Animals, ventriloquist, magic, rocks geology, music, science experiments, other.
The most popular program I ever scheduled was a geology talk. I was very, very surprised. We had a packed house and overflow. We had bands all the time, animals, but the rock people won.
From Jamie, we had a geologist talk and then we broke open geodes with hammers. And
I know, I'm super jealous.
Jessica Jones with Boulder City, we have had to turn people away from our live animals program.
Jesse, what kind of animals? Like farm animals, wild animals, bats? Oh, snakes and
Mostly snakes and
spiders.
stuff. Yeah. You let one loose, they'd all run out. So
I love spiders too. I love spiders. Spiders and I cohabitate with the cats and the dogs. One of our guests at Storytime brought spiders in acrylic. That was pretty cool. All right, so let's stop the quiz and polling.
and our answer is animals with 71% of the vote. Amazing. Ventriloquists get none. Really? Magic, 31%. Rocks and geology, 9%. Music, 11%. Science experiments, 3%. And other had no votes.
I've seen some pretty cool science experiments. What is that stuff that's made out of oh, Indiana bones. I see Indiana bones name all the time. It's the stuff that's made out of cornstarch. Whatever that stuff is, and you can, if you are fast enough, oobleck, yes, you can run on it. We'll do that, Bruce, for our next virtual summer reading program. We'll just build a big vat of oobleck.
And just let the camera roll.
All right, I'm going to stop polling.
We had a kiddo pool full of it. Oh my gosh, my favorite program heads down.
Wow.
Kiddie pool, okay.
Jamie, how much cornstarch did that take? Like, how many boxes?
Oh my gosh.
What'd you do with it after? You probably can't compost it.
I don't know why not.
I mean, we let everyone take some home to play with, and then we let it sit, and it kind of hardens, and then we just took a shovel, like scraped it and threw it out.
Okay, so it hardens. It didn't like start molding. No.
It did.
Oh,
Yeah, it was gross. So we're like, next time we're gonna come up with a better way to like remove it. But yeah, no, like those 50-pound bags, we have a food distributor in town that gave it like at a real discounted price, and we went through 1 1/2, almost 3/4, so about 75 pounds to 100.
oh my God, that would be so worth it though.
The kids, we told them to dress crazy, and then they jumped up and down, and then they laid it and rolled around. A couple of the parents were like, no! It was great.
Just like Peppy.
Yeah.
The car ride must have been real interesting.
They had a plastic bag they laid down.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought if they well, never mind.
All righty, everybody. We're gonna get back to our agenda, and I see our guests here. So it's 10 o'clock. Our next session, we're gonna have Nick Glass, who is here, and Kim Davick, who is here. They are both with Teaching Books Book Connections. Nick is going to talk about all about diversity and inclusion, and I was lucky enough to work with him on a whole YALSA session just on diversity and inclusion. So you're gonna get some really good information. And then Kim will just chime in with that, and also how you can really use Teaching Books with your summer reading program. Teaching Books is geo-authenticated, so there's no problem there with sharing anything. Like no signage, no anything. As long as they're in Nevada and geo-authenticated, they can get into it. So I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to them. Take it away, people.
Good day, everybody. Good morning. I'm Nick Glass.
And I'm Kim Davick. Nice to meet you.
And we're both with Teaching Books and Book Connections. They're kind of synonymous, but different. Teaching Books is the platform for every school and university in the state of Nevada. And Book Connections is a public library specific platform. But in public libraries, you also have access to book connections as well, to teaching books as well. So we just don't want to be confusing anybody, but we're going to show you today the Book Connections platform, which was designed, just came out in the great year of 2020 at PLA. We launched it there and gave it right away, gave it to the Nevada State Library license, so everybody has that and teaching books. And today what we're going to look at is try to help you feel like you have some understanding of these connections to children's and young adult books that can be available to all of your patrons, no matter what their age and need and interest is around children's and young adult books. We're also going to talk about staff development for for library programming, for summer reading, and for diverse books also. We're going to try to do this in an accessible way over the next hour and have time for questions. Does that sound right, Kim? Sound
Sounds
good?
perfect, Nick. Thank you.
Anybody? So again, as Shulin said, everybody in Nevada has access to this. We do want to try to make sure that everything is set up just right in your library so that everybody can easily have access, and that if they're coming to your library to learn about the e-resources and availability of things, we want to make sure it's set up right. So we're going to cover that a little bit as well. But basically the concept to know here is that you and every resident in the state of Nevada has unlimited access to enrichment resources around children's and young adult books. I started this service about 20 years ago with the dream of what happens if every reader could meet the author when they're reading a book, and how can that change the way everyone relates to that text. And that's what we're doing, and so much more. So it should align and support all of your work that you're already doing. So what I wanted to do was share my screen and begin just to give you a little overview of Book Connections. Then we're going to go into library programming, and then make sure you have a good sense of that. Then we'll move into diverse books, summer reading, and reinforce how you can access all these things. And please use the chat. Kim is watching it as well, and feel free to interrupt or play the ukulele or whatever it is you wish to do to help us all stay connected and enjoying this. So I'm going to share my screen. Right now, do you see Book Connections on your screen? Is that working?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thanks. So sometimes I've done a presentation where it didn't work, so I was on the wrong screen or something. So Book Connections is as a resource for everybody in public libraries. If I scroll down just a little bit, you can see here the kind of pieces that we're working towards. If you're interested in having library programming or book promotion or homeschool support or reader's advisory, or have just fun things for children to do or families to do around children's young adult books, this is all here for you. So what you can do is you can just, let's say you're planning a library programming and story time. I can go into library programming, and then I can look through this and I can say I want to do story time, and I want to introduce a book with the story time activity or with a video book trailer. So I can just say I want a video book trailer, and then I can say show me what you have, and then all of these titles. Whoops, I clicked into the wrong thing, I guess. Let me go back here. Story time, video book trailers. Continue. And now you're going to see all of the titles that have video book trailers. So now I have 7,000 some odd titles that have book trailers. I can scroll through those. I can use the filtering here on the left, so I can narrow down to the age levels that I'm after, or the genre, or the curricular area, or the recency of the book. I can just say I really wanted to focus right now on American Indian books that have book trailers, and then I can say, oh, I love Thunder Boy, and then I can go to that, and then I'm going to have my book trailer, and I can click to that, and then I can play that as my story time. You know. Make it full screen. And so forth. So you have ways to really connect to book. We're trying to enrich books. Book Connections does not have the texts of books. This is not an ebook platform. This is resources to really enrich what you're already doing. So again, I can go to the professional area, and I can go back to for professionals. I can go to story time, library programming, and I can then select what I'm after. I want to do a book talk. I want to introduce a book with a book reading, and I wanted to see what you have. I'm specifically thinking about introducing a text. We're right now reading The Hate You Give, and I want to introduce that with an audio performance or with the author there. So I can just take one of these books, and I can just introduce it this way.
When I was 12, my parents had 2 talks with me. One was the usual birds and bees. Well, I didn't really get the usual version. My mom, Lisa, is a registered nurse.
So you can introduce text, you can introduce books by talking yourself, by having video book trailers, by having audio performances that are read along. We have resources around whatever books are being read. So really just dive into these options. Look at what you're trying to do. I'm trying to do library programming. I'm trying to think through book promotion. I want to have when people are picking up books on the curbside pickup, or when people are coming through your library, you want to have shelf talkers. So you can just have, you can say, I want to have name pronunciation recordings by every one of the Lightning Thief titles, the titles in that series. And so I can just go down to the author, and I don't want to say his name, but I wanted to show you what you can do is you can go right to that, and then you'd have here a recording, and then I can have a shelf talker that would take me directly to that. So I can have on my shelves handouts, flyers. You can put these pieces together, and anybody can scan that and then hear the recording at that very moment about that author talking about their name, or have a book trailer or a recording. So there's just tons of tools and enrichment pieces for book promotion, library programming, reader's advisory. I know I liked a certain book, or I'm just specifically looking. I want someone's coming in and they're studying biographies, and they're in middle school, and they wanted something about the Middle Eastern community. What do you have? And then you'd get these 29 different biographies. And for each of these, you're going to get different connections to the text, from a preview of the book that works magically when you're virtual, to discussion questions, vocabulary lists, audio performances, and even things like, how do you say the author's name, so they can have that.
Hello, my name is Ibtisam Barakat, pronounced just like it is spelled. My first name, Ibtisam, has 7 letters. IB, Ib, T-I-T.
And so forth. And you get a little background. We're trying to personalize everybody's relationship to whatever book they are reading. So that's kind of a nutshell of what Book Connections is. There's nothing better than exploring it. I want to, though, invite all of you to ensure that it's set up exactly as you wish. And the ways we give you all kinds of tools to help you get those set up. And I would just invite all of you to reach out. Kim put our contact information in the chat box. But if it's not set up with things such as buttons and direct access points, you can have buttons that look just like this on your website. We even give you the code. So it will take everybody directly to children's book resources or teen book resources, or you can have an access point that's only in Spanish. So when they go to that, it would just be the whole site, but everything is now in Spanish for you. You have a lot of options here. And I just want to invite all of you to make sure that it's set up through your proxy systems. We also have widgets that you can promote books every day. Every day there's 2 new books or a literary calendar that you can put on your websites. There's so much here, but we just wanted to give you a very quick overview before we dig into summer reading. And so before we get a little more into summer reading and diverse books, what kinds of questions you have, or Kim, anything you wish to add, and I can navigate.
There aren't any questions yet, but Nick, thank you for that overview. And the other thing that Nick talked about, getting things set up, so reach out to us about that. The other piece about this is you also have unlimited training. So ask at any time if you want us to support any staff development pieces. Sulin has been great about setting some of those up. Bruce has helped with that too, but we're here to pop in for 10 minutes to a meeting, or longer if you'd like. Any of those things are readily available. Nick, there is now a question about, is Book Connections a free resource?
It has been purchased for you by the Nevada State Library Archives and Public Records. So you guys have unlimited access in your state. When you go right now, all of you just go to bookconnections.org. Just on another browser, go to bookconnections.org. If you're in the state of Nevada, it will say, "Welcome Nevada resident." You will be automatically authenticated. You can get right in, and you can start using whatever you want. You can also look up a book that if you're interested in a particular title. I can say, I'm right now just reading, I don't know, what am I reading right now?
Right now you're reading Kitten's First Full Moon.
Thank you. I was so wondering what I was reading. And so I'm doing a story time, and I want the most perfect book. This is how I define perfection in children's books on some levels. And so you have that, and I wanted to have a movie with the author here, so we went into Kevin Hankis's home and we filmed him, so you can play this piece here. You have a movie actually just showing even how he illustrates Kitten. So a 2-minute movie. I'll mute it, and then I'll just scroll through so you can just see a little bit of what you see within this. You see the original drawings, you see how he thinks and writes, and you see him draw a cat, and then when you're done with that, you send that home to everybody. You give everybody a bookmark, and so everybody now gets a bookmark directly to the Kitten's First Full Moon movie, and they can scan that and take them right there and so forth. So yes, it's all paid for, including all of the training. It's really important to understand that this is available to you, and we want to get it set up so that it's integrated into your work with books for when your homeschool families come in. We would love them to be able to say, oh, well, here we have a whole resource to help you with trying to find book connections for whatever topic you're looking for. You're right now studying, I don't know what you're studying. You're studying Nevada history. And so then I can go there, and I'm going to get all of the books we have on Nevada history. You can then filter and hone in, and you have different kinds of resources about those things, right? So
I just want to add really quickly, even though it's geo-authenticated, we want all of your libraries set up because that's how we track usage, and usage is important to you as well as us.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, for all your annual reports every time. That's why that you set it up. We've made it really easy for you, and we'll help you. Just reach out to us. Just use the information that's in the chat box. Reach out to Kim or myself. We will ensure that you have all of the details set up for your proxy systems, for your buttons, widgets, whatever you need. You need logos, you need whatever it is you want. We'll help create it and get it to you. And there's no charge to you. This has already been purchased for you by the Nevada State Library, Public Records and Archives. I think I got those letters confused, but you get the point. So very quickly, you go to Book Connections. Let me just summarize. You go to Book Connections homepage. It's bookconnections.org. You can search for any title, author, subject. I'm just right now studying. I'm really doing a story time on Patricia Polacco books. Fabulous. But this is pre-K through 12. I don't mean to be picking elementary examples, but you're doing a story time with that, or you're doing a book club on on Hunger Games. And so, you know, everyone's reading Hunger Games. You're going to find incredible material. So you can go to the Hunger Games series. Here are all the books laid out for you. You want to introduce, did you know there's a new book and you want to send that home and get everyone excited about that? And you want to send an email, include this in your newsletter. You go to the audio excerpt, you hit share, and then you have the link that you can just put into any platform and everybody will automatically be taken to this page where they can
Coriolanus
hear
tried
that.
to tamp down the panic rising inside him.
So all of this is here for you.
Great
So,
way to promote what you're doing on social media and make your work easy. You know, you've got a lot of work. So any way that we can support making it even slightly easier, we're thrilled to do that.
and I wanted to hone in now a little bit on diversity and inclusion and show you some tools. But please free asking questions. Again, just keep in mind, Teaching Books is available to everybody in your community. It's for anybody who's using children's and young adult books. Your staff can come here and just learn about the world, about children's and young adult books like you've never imagined, right? Through genre studies or reader's advisory or author pronunciations, or learning about every award and so forth. But what I wanted to talk about now is we wanted to cover a little bit was diversity and inclusion. And we wanted to show you how you can keep this in mind as you're doing your work. So we need diverse books. You've probably heard of that campaign. Is all about the publication and purchasing of diverse books. That's massively important, and the numbers are rising. What we're doing is going a little bit beyond that to help you learn what is available, to help you identify books, think deeper about the books, and then analyze your collection and books. So we have a whole thing called the Diverse Books Toolkit. We cannot cover all elements of this in 10 minutes, but I wanted to make sure you knew about it and give you a little feel for that. So let's say you were just looking for diverse books by any particular culture. I just want to know, I'm thinking about our American Indian Native communities, and we want to make sure we've got great books for them. What do you have? So then I can go here, you get all the titles. I can then say, I just want to narrow by award-winning books. I don't know the differences. I know there's a lot of problematic books. I want to focus on what's been chosen as authoritative by groups that I believe in. Then you get this, and then you could learn, for example, this book was selected and then rescinded, right? Absolutely true. I have a part-time Indian for various reasons, but you'd get to see all these, and then you could go through, and then you have connections because we've called up the authors. We have, for almost all of these books you see right here, actually for every one of these books here, you have the creator right now coming to you, telling you why they wrote the book. So you want to know about why Fry Bread was written. You know, you can then say, I want to hear from the author, Kevin Noble Mallard, about it and why he wrote it. So then you have that.
My name is Kevin Millard, and I am the author of Fry Bread. This is my debut picture book, and the illustrator is Juana Martinez-Neal. I have two kids. They're 7 and 4, and when my older son was about 2 years old, I was looking for books so I could read to him. And
so he goes
we're
through how
native.
and why he wrote the book. You have the backstory directly from the author. That's really powerful to understand. But you can use the Diverse Books Toolkit. And again, a way to find that is just going to For Professionals and then going to Diverse Books Toolkit. And you can search by culture to identify books. You can search by subject. I'm just studying right now astronauts. And what I want is astronauts. Here you go. And so what I want though is a search that's not going to keep showing me the same things I've seen before about John Glenn. And I want Black, Indigenous, People of Color titles. So this is a search box that's only going to give you diverse titles for any subject. Right? So it's only going to show you that. So it's just another way to help you learn about and identify the books. I'm just looking for Latinx texts that are graphic novels. My kids love graphic novels and I want Latinx ones. So now you're going to have 34 of those. And you get to then say, could you sort those by award winners? I want to know which ones have won the most awards, for example. And then now you'll see these books have won 5. So I can say, wow, I didn't know about this book, and then you can click on it, learn about it, because we've interviewed Duncan Tonatia, the author. You have the audio excerpts, you have the video book trailer, you also have the Google previews. So this is really a way, no matter where you are, to have access to these materials. So the diverse books, again, you can go to the home page to go to diverse books. You can just go to professionals and then go down to the diverse books toolkit. And then you can use these first areas to help you identify titles. The other way to help learn about this space is by looking at all of the different awards and series and so forth. I can just say, what do you have on our disability community or LGBTQ? That might be an interesting one to do. So because there's a lot you might not know about. There's so many sources and resources here. So you can go through different lists from authoritative sources. You can learn, maybe you know of the Lambda Literary Awards. Maybe you don't. Maybe you know of the Rainbow List from ALA or the Stonewall Award. When you click on one of these, it's going to show you every title ever recognized by this award since 1992. And then you can narrow and filter and say, we're focused on our teens. So what do you have here for grade levels being high school? And now you're going to get to see these titles. And then suddenly you have Elizabeth Acevedo and Abdib Corman and Ben Soler, Sinez and Jackie Woodson all here to talk about what they are after. And so you have here all of these connections and personalizations about these particular books, right? So I just wanted to make sure you saw that you can go deeper. You now have the authors telling you how and why they wrote the book. You have at your disposal to make you more comfortable talking about other cultures, or creators of these books sharing their personal backstory. Going back to the first thing I told you, the reason this project exists is to help you feel connected to the book. And if every reader, the moment they're reading it, can learn from the author why they're writing it and have insights that change the way they're connecting to it, that's so powerful. And particularly when you're talking about diversity and inclusion, and we want to be as authoritative as we can, but they're not all of our cultures. We're talking about other people's spaces. Can we get into have the primary source materials breaking down those insights around books? So the Diverse Books Toolkit is helping you do that with resources. For every one of these diverse texts, we've interviewed the authors, the creators, these 5,600 titles. So you can now have all of these authors here right now at no charge to you. Again, this is provided by your state for every reader in your state. If you have people using these books, they probably didn't know that Walter Dean Myers, the deceased incredible author, could now be there talking about how he did his research and writing for this amazing Prince-winning book, right? So you have all of this at your disposal. And the last piece I want to just briefly touch on is you have the ability to analyze your collections. And so I'm not going to have much time to show you, but I'm just going to demonstrate it. But if you wanted to look at your collection and see how are we doing based on a classification, this is just a tool. We're not an authoritative anything. We have tools and we have classifications that maybe can help give you insights. So you have an analysis report, and you can just say this is a middle grade fiction. And so I have a library, I have a collection from Nevada. I don't know where. And it's a sample fiction collection. It's in a spreadsheet of title and author. So I'm just going to take that, and I'm going to take the titles, and then I'm going to drop them in. And then I'm going to take the authors, and I'm going to drop them in. It's over 2,000 titles. I hit generate report. And then I say, Kim, while this is running, what would you like to share? Because this is 2,000 titles. It's got to build a report for you. It will take a minute.
Well, I love that part about being able to analyze a large or a small group, because maybe I'm just looking to purchase some new titles for my early readers, or maybe I'm just looking at a certain collection. I can look what I have, what is included for diversity, and then I can look to see what isn't included. So when that report comes up, Nick will be able to go deeper, but we can look at big collections and we can look at small collections. So depending on what your needs are.
Thank you. And the trick to this is to build that spreadsheet, right? So here, the report's now up, but I just want to show you, I just built the spreadsheet. I don't know how Sulin got this. She downloaded some library catalog from somewhere of middle grade fiction and then sent me the report. Like I said, it's truly, I don't know where it comes from, but someplace in your state. And then it's split up into 2 columns, titles and authors, and everything else has to be cleared out. And then we put it in here and it shows you here that you have 2,637 titles in the collection. And it then breaks them up. And what I did, even though there were some of these in there, there were a few books of Middle Eastern, South Asian, I messed with it a little bit to show you what this would look like. So it can now say, oh, look, I'm missing South Asian books. There are no titles in here, but I can see that 32% of them are realistic fiction. I can see that, look at the high percentage of horror and mystery. And then I have historical fiction, LGBTQ. So you can see at a glance how they're matching. 2% of romance for your middle grade fiction. Okay. You know, there's no judgment. I'm just pointing out that you only have here 45 graphic books. Is that what you think your readers want or don't want? I don't know. Now, we don't include things, we only have trade books. So teaching books is not going to be able to match with non-trade books. So some manga, for example, doesn't qualify for teaching books. But it's a graphic book that would be hugely popular and you probably have lots of them in your library. But I'm just trying to show you how you can do it. And you can say, oh, there's no sports. I want to add some sports books, so show me sports. And then I can say, oh my gosh, of course I want to have crossover. And of course I want to have Roller Girl. How could I not? And then you can make a note and get it and so forth. And so with your reports, it's going to show you your collection analysis by genre, cultural area. It's also going to show you things like qualitative measures and quantitative measures. So it's going to show you here your average Lexile range for your middle grade fiction is grades 2 to 3. That's fascinating to me. You have 2,000 titles. That's their average Lexile. It's going to show you your qualitative measures, which is a rubric, which only 143 titles have this information, so it's not terribly statistically valid, but it will give you a sense of how it's playing out for the books that have these subjective rubrics filled out, which you're welcome to do. It will give you a sense of recency. Only one book is 2021, and 21% were published in the past 3 years. And then it tells you have 19,000 resources available on Book Connections for you. And then you can take this and you have at the top of this the ability to print it. If you wanted to send this to show your department and your supervisor that you've been thinking about this, you can just print that and send that to somebody. You also can get the spreadsheet and analyze it some more yourself. So you can download a spreadsheet. So again, I just wanted you to see that what we're trying to do with teaching books is enrich your connections to books in ways that technologies can help. Have the author, have a book trailer, have a vocabulary list that's live on a digital dictionary and has example sentences for the books. Have knowledge about and have insights about your particular titles. And so the Diverse Books Toolkit is here for you for that. What else can we answer about library programming and diverse books before we move into summer reading? How are you doing? Let's pause for any insights, comments, questions, whatever.
I have a comment, Nick. I asked a volunteer to send me their young adult list.
Okay.
And so then I kind of scrubbed the data, cleaned up the data, and then sent it to you. So I did this a few months ago when I first became aware of this toolkit, and I would like to schedule like a bigger, deeper dive webinar into all of this. So like,
we'll be in touch probably today. Just try to work with you on that, right? No, after you're done with this, we're excited to do whatever you want, of course.
So what does it say? please reach out to them anyway, like if you just want to do this now. But bear in mind, I would like to, in the very near future, get something more in depth scheduled. So yeah, okay, go on.
That would be spectacular. We did have a question, Nick, about if the schools in Nevada had access. And I said, yes, the schools in Nevada have access to the teaching books, thank you, sharing the screen. And so they have that same tool, Diverse Books Toolkit is available for them at all. Remember that teaching books we want people to feel familiar. So when you're looking at book connections, you're seeing things like library programming. You're seeing words like readers and patrons. When we're in schools, we're seeing, words like students. And so it's just the same, it's all the same great resources and data packaged for the particular audience. So Nick, thank you for connecting back and forth.
So the home page of Book Connections, again, as public librarians, I imagine this is what matters to, this is what you're thinking about, a lot of these things. And also on the homepage here, you'll see your Diverse Books Toolkit. You'll see these sections, while at a school, it's more standards-based and, aligned to your reading programs and so forth. So we want to make sure that it's just a different interface, and that's what took us a number of years to create. It just came out. It's really new, but it's designed with the support of incredible professional youth service librarians. I'm a very active member of ALSC, for example, and had great help to figure out exactly what to put together. It's our best foot forward to support you in public libraries. And then we have these boxes right at the front to help you also think about things like, oh, I'm an adult and I want to infuse diverse books into your reading. That will take you to Diverse Books page. Someone else wants to customize their book lists, and so you can do that. If you're trying to learn about your read aloud laws and rules and what publishers are permitting right now during COVID, we link to that for you also. So you can click to that, and then you'll have the latest updated directory from publishers on who allows you to read what in your libraries online. Really important stuff. We're just trying to make that available to you. But when you look at the students, they could just say, I just want a complete book reading. I'm looking just to connect to a book and sit and have a book read to me. What do you have? And I want to have, right now I want, I don't know any of these, piecing me together. And then it would take you to the complete reading of that. So here's a complete video reading of a piece from this book. I click on that, and now I have Renee Watson performing that for me, right? So that's really
This is
powerful.
Black Girls Rising. Are Black bodies sacred?
And there you have her, right? The author reading a complete section of her book for you. Anything else? Again, setup is essential. Please reach out to us. This is about any book that's being read. You can search. If anyone has a book, type book into the chat box. We'll look it up for you and show you how this works. Or maybe you're exploring it yourself right now. But for pretty much every book, we're going to have resources to enrich everyone's relationship to it. We wanted to move into summer reading because it's that time soon. And so again, under professionals, there's an area for summer reading. And we wanted you to see that no matter which program you're using, or if you're building your own, we can align our collections right to your resources. And Kim, why don't you take us through this one? I'll navigate.
You're still driving, yeah, let's go. So let's go ahead and say we're using the Tails and Tales CSLP, this list. And so now we see that ready to go for you are the early literacy, children's, and young adults. Let's go ahead and choose early literacy this time, Nick, and take a look at that collection. And so Nick had shown us earlier that we have these resources ready to go for your programming. And let's say that we wanted to think about the titles that maybe had story time activity kits. So on the left-hand side, we saw that we had 186 titles that came up. So we have resources for all of those. And on the left-hand side, then we can find those Storytime activity kits, and we'll go ahead and select that. And now all of these titles from that list will have a Storytime activity kit. Really important right now because you might be having an event, or perhaps you want to send something home. Let's go ahead and take a look at, okay, Shark came along.
I meant to go to Pigeon. I want to go back. I need Pigeon in my life
I
anytime
was
I
going
can.
to say Bear came along at a great little, but
Okay, I'll do that one. I live for Pigeon, but you're in charge.
I know. So here we have all sorts of information about either the book creators, and we also, it will open up directly now to where those activities are. And so we have that Storytime activity kit from Hatchet ready to go. Whether you are having an event in person, if you're needing to do packs to send home, because this year has been very interesting, right? And so how are we going to get resources to our patrons, to our darlings? You might have teens come in to help you in your library for summer programming. They could have centers set up, but as we're talking about the tails, T-A-I-L-S, and those tales, T-A-L-E-S, that go along when we're thinking about those books, we have all sorts of choices.
Found one.
Say it again.
I found one. Oh, I'm sorry. I interrupted.
And you have somebody in your group, that will distract, but that's okay. I love the fact, and Nick, can you go back once, because we want to talk about how versatile we are and with the sharing tools. So
let me hear. I get it. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Either one is fine. So if we wanted to take a look, we can share that Storytime activity kit, because you have access to this, and so do your readers using our sharing tools. You have a URL link that you can pop into a newsletter. You can also share on social media to build interest or spread the word. If I close that up, yes, you can tweet it out.
I'm sorry, it already builds it for you with the link, and it has everything all set for you there, right?
Yeah, all ready to go. And so then the beautiful part, again, about those sharing tools is all access is wide, that's open. They have immediate access. They don't have to log in. They don't even have to know anything about Book Connections. They get right to the resource that you've shared. Nick was also taking a look at that whole list. So if you wanted to, we'll go back one more. There we go. If we're on that early childhood list, we saw that there are 186 titles. If I wanted to have bookmarks, you wanted to have bookmarks out, we have the possibility with the sharing tool on the upper left-hand side, we can send home bookmarks so that our families can see what titles would be included and what other titles they might want to check out and read. When they scan that, go ahead.
If you have a phone, feel free to take out your phone and scan that right now. You can do this online as well. That's what's so cool. Or type in the URL that's right here.
Yep, so they can scan that, they can see all of those resources for all of those titles. So you're able to share a resource, you're able to share all the resources for a title, and you're able to share all of the resources from the list, however you want to build excitement about your program. Then we give it a whirl. Nick, if we go back to, we can see maybe we're doing some programming for summer reading and or any other programming for our teens. We can go back to Tales and Tales and see either the children's or the young adult section and take a look. You can again have a bookmark with all of the resources for those titles. You have all of the book guides and activities so that you can have discussion questions if you want to lead a group circle. The other thing is if you want to build that engagement with those older readers, they can go to those book guides and pull a question that they might want to lead and use. So all of those options, they have author information, there's trailers, you can advertise with a resource your event with those links.
And for every one of these titles, again, it goes back to that same collection we're kind of scaffolding about when we started with. I hope that you see we have these resources. You have the Google previews. Maybe you don't know the book and you're home, you're not in the library, you can't examine it. So we have this kind of touchless examinations, right? You can listen to an excerpt of it, watch a video book trailer, and even read. In this case, you can read 57 pages of this particular title. So I can then go through and read 57 pages of it right now, simultaneous unlimited use. Right, all of this is part and parcel for what we're trying to do, to build these connections around what matters. So if that's a book that mattered to you because it's part of your approach towards Tales and Tales, these lists, by the way, come from the CSLP. This is part of the handbook. And the other thing we did, if I can just add one thing going back here, we weren't sure whether you were going to be purchasing this year's or keeping last year's, because last year was such a weird year. We added this back in. Ordinarily, we don't keep showing previous years. But because we know some of you might have invested a lot of time and money in prepping for summer 2020, because remember, everything was going to open up in April or something like that, if I recall. You know, that's all here also. Similarly, we work with iRead and the Black Indigenous People of Color list from We Are Kid Lit. So there's specifically a diversity summer reading program provided also with all their resources for you.
Which is perfect. And Nick, you're exactly where I wanted you to be, which is looking at either that choice. And then right underneath it, you can also build your own summer reading list. So let's say that you want something to be event specific, or you want it to be patron specific, or a display. You can do that too. So here you need to just select how you want to get started. Either you're an adult, because then when you're signed in as an adult, you'll be able to save that list for yourself. Student use, patrons under 18, that is a one-time use that they can keep that for themselves, but they can't edit it. Yours, as adults and professionals, you can keep under your license. But let's say we want to quick add some titles for a special event, or you know a family who has come in and they've asked for a collection of titles. Maybe you're still with curbside pickup, you want to put together 5 or 6 titles on this bookmark that you're going to prepare for them, and then they can pick and choose and maybe check those books out. But we've got a full couple titles here. More. Oh, perfect. More. Where is that one? Down a little further. There we go. That's the one. And so once we get the titles that we're ready, Nick's going to add, I think, one more. Then it's Kim's special list. We save it. And now I can view it, my special list, and I can share it with my patrons. Or this might be a display that I want to have up in my library because it's going to go along with an event. So those are some great options.
And then the kinds of materials you also have flyers. So if you wanted to display it, you have a flyer that you can print. You can translate any of our flyers also. So if you wanted the flyer now to be in Arabic, you can then have that. And for some reason they couldn't translate your name, Kim. But there you have that, right? And it always gives your access directions also for everybody.
Nick, can you stay right there and just make that a little bit bigger? So those QR codes are what work on your phones. Okay, if you use the barcode scanner, that's for the ISBN on the back of your book.
Right. When you were building this list, if I want to edit this list, you can actually I don't have my scanner with me right now, but if you had your barcode scanner and you just did beep, and then it would enter the ISBN for, you know, Very Hungry Caterpillar, let's say I had, right? So it would just take me right to that automatically, because it reads the ISBN and it just makes that beep sound. It's really fun. I enjoy that. But that's what it does. And so you can also just use, so if you have a stack of books, you're trying to get something for somebody very quickly, you can just scan it right in here, and that's what that can work as well. So you just scan it right away.
So I think I think what you do, right, is you just open your camera on your phone,
yes.
Right? You just open your camera and aim it at the QR code, and it should just boom.
You can do that also. So you can just click here and it would open a scanning device, and it works on Chromebooks and computers as well, just not nearly as well as your phone. But on a phone, if you have a book in front of you and you go to Book Connections, so right now if you went to Book Connections on your phone, and all of you will be signed in automatically because you're in Nevada already, and then you clicked on the search, you'll see the little barcode, and then scan a barcode, it will take you right to that resource on Book Connections. And you'll be authenticated to access everything. But when you're building a list, if you want to make it really easy for you when you're supporting and trying to get the resources right to your patrons, building a list for somebody, have your little beeping barcode device, the little USB cool thing. You push the handle, it has a colorful light thing that shines out. Technology is amazing. And then you have all that. This is an amazing way to just do that really fast, because you have the books in front of you, and then you just hit save, and then you can just email that to them. Say, how would you like that distributed? Would you like me to email that so when you get home, you have all the resources, or would you want me to print that for you? And when you hit share, you have all those options. You can email it, text it. I can even text it to you.
And then immediate access.
And then there's immediate access, exactly. So that's kind of how that part works. So summer reading is, we want to make sure that you know that as you're doing things, you have promotional materials to put out there. You have the ability to say, let's have, shelf talkers for all of these things. Let's have a shelf talker for this video book reading of Eric Carle, or in this case, someone else reading the book. I can then just have go to share, and these shelf talkers would be there, and then anybody can go around and just literally watch that video, right? And again, you can translate everything if you're trying to reach your community that only speaks Tagalog or Hmong, then translate it into Hmong for them. It's no big deal. It's just thinking about it and being aware that you can now keep reaching everybody. We want to enrich every reading connection.
We've had several people reach out to us too and ask about permission to use the resource. Can we do that? And yes, absolutely. So when you want to share a resource in a newsletter, you want to share it on social media, you have permission with our sharing tools. That's why they were created, for you to go ahead and share that way.
Yep. Again, just to summarize how we got here, because I'm bouncing around. There are a lot of ways to get things. You go to the home page of Book Connections, and you can either immediately go right into professionals. You guys are the professionals. You're also readers, I understand, but wear your professional hat. And you're also fun, I'm sure of it. But click professionals, it will take you there. The other thing you can do is scroll down just a little bit, and you'll see the whole options, right? All of the options, and you can go right to there. And if you go to the footer of the page, if I just jump to the bottom, you'll see here, all of these are down there also. So I can just go right to summer reading, or diverse books, or any of these things right from the footer, and then go right to it.
Could you guys talk a little bit about creating accounts and why they would do that and how they could do that?
Absolutely. So if you go on the, Nick, why don't you scooch out one level?
That's exactly what I was doing, right?
So you'll be welcomed. You're where it says Nevada State Library. If you're just signing in from home right now, you would see Welcome Nevada Readers. You'd see that. If you go to the toggle menu on the upper left-hand side, you will have the option of, because you're welcomed now as the whole state, but if you scroll down, you will see where it says professional login just above that sign out button. And so all of you, every single staff member in your libraries, please create an educator log or a professional login for yourself. You put in your work email. You got that whole list, didn't you? Put in your work.
I thought I had Sue Lynn in here. I signed in as her earlier, I thought, but I guess I didn't.
Just sign in as, why don't you sign in as me real quick? Nevada. Oh, never mind. I can't say. Never mind. And then pop in your password that you create for yourself. It's a quick little step process. You put in your role and you answer a couple questions, create a password. The only information we keep on you is who you work with and the level that you work with, so that you then have access to this. So now here I am. This allows you to share those resources using every single one of the sharing tools that we had, right, that we talked about. Your recipients then, no sign-in required. They can go right to those resources.
Right.
You can also create those lists.
You want this power as a professional.
Mm-hmm.
There's immediate authentication and access for a reader and a patron. Absolutely. It's just like you don't give patrons access to all of your tools to run your library catalog. They use the front end of it. But your you're empowered to help share and enrich every reader in the state. And we want to give you every bit of tool we can. And for that, we need to save a list. You want to be able to save a list or share or have an authorized email that works with teaching books and book connections, because we can't just open up our portal for anybody to send emails. That would become a hacking nightmare. And so it's really easy. Again, once you sign in, you just go to teaching books or book connections. The same account will work on both, by the way. And then you'll see Welcome Nevada Resident. Right now, I'm signed in already as the Nevada State Library, but you'll see Welcome Nevada Resident. Just drop this down to professional login and then create your account. So if it's a new address, if it was just, testing@gmail.com, right? That's not an existing account. It will take you through a profile. It will just ask you these few questions. It's not very hard, not very long, and then you just go from there. We just need to have a sense of, are you in public library, are you in university, who are you? And what, once I know that you're in a public library world, what's your specialty, in case we have things we want to share with you about specifically teens. We don't really use that, but it's just in case, right? We don't know, but we've added those few questions, nothing too personal. Your work email. If you enter your work email address, we should have your email domains. It would put you in already anyway. But again, these are those values that Kim was talking about why you would do this.
And then when you're signed in like that, any of those lists that you create, you'll find those in your drop down where it says your reading list. So not only will all of your Nevada State Award lists be listed right there for you. Go ahead, Nick. So those would all be there. And then once you have created some lists, they'll be there, or it's going to just show you that you can start a list from there as well, from this button as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that when we set up all of Nevada, Nick got every library's domain, right? So that's why it's your work email, because it knows who they are, right?
It's an easy way to help you not need to know. We can figure out your account automatically from your email. It's nothing personal. We don't know who you are, but we're trying to just make it really easy. Everything we can do to simplify access and fit into your technologies. That's why, going back to the importance of setup, if you have an easy proxy, if you have library card authentication, if you want our buttons to add these resources so that all your patrons, when they're looking, we're working with your schools trying to set it up into their single sign-ons like Clever, if you've heard of that, and so forth. Any way we can tell everybody to have, it's a really hard job. We're only 10 months into this project so far, right? And so we've come a huge way, but we're only just beginning. And we want to make sure every reader in your state knows that if they're reading a book, my goodness, why can't they have these amazing connections? If they're reading, Because of Winn-Dixie, I have no idea why that came to my mind, Because of Winn-Dixie, then they have all this depth and understandings and resources about it. Well, I have to be signed into some account. I signed completely out, but you see the point. And again, you set it up in your library so your students can have teaching books there too, because they'll see that in their schools. But Book Connections is for your public library support. You're welcome to all of them, unless that's too confusing. Then just pick Book Connections. What can we answer for you?
Pardon me, Savannah?
We're almost out of time.
Oh yeah, we are.
Right.
Yeah.
We covered everything we hoped. We want to make sure you're comfortable with knowing you have this, that it's here for you, that we're here for you, that it's going to support your summer reading. So as you're preparing for training your staff, there's a ton of resources here and support for you. As you're thinking about diversity and inclusion, there are tools to help you with that. Anything else we can answer for you?
Yeah, there's a lot here. And seriously, I think if you need more in-depth anything, let them know, right? They can pop into staff meetings, weekly trainings, anything you need.
Yeah,
I don't know yeah, I'm sorry. I can't, I don't know what you need personally, but you let them know. Yeah.
Yep.
I've put two things in the chat window. One of them is the setup form in case you didn't, like, you got the email a long time ago and we can do any other setup for you. We'd love to help with that. And I also put in my email again. So if I can help support at any of your meetings, please don't, or we can set something up. Do never hesitate to ask.
Yep. And on our site, there's a help area with a contact, everything you could need. But thank you. We're really honored and excited to do this work. Our job is to enrich every reader's connection, and working from the state library is really the most beautiful way to reach everybody. Libraries are such vital community stakeholders, and all of you do amazing work in trying to break down barriers. And well, that's what we're trying to do with just one little piece in all of your work. But thank you very much. So Lynn and Bruce, thanks for all your leadership and opportunities as well.
And Norma.
And Norma.
White Pine has commented, we used bookmarks in our take-home kits last summer. We had a lot of great reviews, so yay. These guys started right when the pandemic started, so it has been just an amazing, interesting time to roll something out. So if you haven't really gotten into it, we know there's a lot going on, but anyway, yeah, so we have, thank you again. So we have 3 minutes for our next guest, who is author Terri Farley. She is
Wait. I added Terri, we added resources for Terri. So let me just make sure I lead in with that. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm so glad.
I forgot it. I'm so sorry, Nick.
I had totally forgotten too. So when you're on here, so we already had a lot of great stuff for her, but I want to make sure you know, like, if you're interested in this particular book, here's, a video book trailer or audio excerpt. And we haven't reached out to her, but Terri, if you're on, email me. We want to get your name and everything else and do anything else we can do to support you. But here's all these different resources. So for this book, if you were interested in Wild at Heart, which is just such a beautiful book, there's a fabulous book trailer. There's information about all the awards that it's won, these national recognitions of outstanding science and trade, and the Science Book and Film Prize for Excellence, and so forth. So I just want to make sure you knew that you have this, you can share that. There's all these resources about her and her work, and this is what we mean by whatever book you're reading, we're trying to enrich it. But there's nothing better than meeting the author directly. So thank you, Sue-Lynn. I just want to make sure you had that little piece. And thank you, everybody, for your time.
She is here. She is absolutely here. There she is.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks.
So thank you. Oh gosh, thank you. Yeah, it's 11:59. We can have a 1-minute break, and then we'll just roll right into our author, if that's okay. I do need a 1-minute break. So Bruce.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you, Nick and Kim. Absolutely. Bruce, you're going to be the 1-minute host, okay?
It's all mine now. So everybody stand up and stretch, please. Because you might have been too long on the desk. Reach for the stars. And I hope you guys can use teaching books better after that discussion. It's a really great tool. I am amazed. I wish I had that when I was in high school and college. It would have made things so much easier. It's just amazing the way the world is, what's available now that was hard to find back then. And anybody who's ever had to stamp a book knows what I'm talking about with the date. Yeah. So.
I'm back, thank you. Yeah, did everyone have a chance to stand up and what is the story time thing? Shake
your wiggles out?
Yeah.
God, we should have done that. We could have.
Shake your wiggles out. All righty. All right. So I'm going to temporarily share my screen. And here is Terri Farley. Her presentation day is Telling the Wild Horse Story in Fact and Fiction. Here's a little bio about her, but sum it up. She is a Reno person. She went to UNR. She has a master's in journalism. She was just recently inducted into the Nevada Writers Hall of Fame. She was also a teacher in Los Angeles, which is where I am from. So she not only is a writer, she also has a lot of experience working with young adults, with our target audience. And she is a wild horse advocate. I had the pleasure of hearing her speak to a group of adults about 1.5 years ago. Gosh, it was so engaging, it was so entertaining. She was a wonderful speaker. And that is my introduction. You can see, oh, she has several series. Phantom Stallion, published by HarperCollins. 7 Tears into the Sea, Simon & Schuster. And then there's also the Wild Horse Island series. Multiple awards were awarded to her for these. And she has one nonfiction book, Wild at Heart, which is about young people and wild horses and putting their passion into action. Okay, so I'm going to stop my share and turn it over to Terri. Okay.
All right. I appear to be on a page with everybody's name. So let me go back.
So yeah, you want to go on the bottom and share your screen. You see that? Should be able to. Or it might be on the top on your screen.
Nope.
Yep,
Here.
got it.
Okay. All right.
So we see your web, we see a browser. Yeah, I know. Seriously.
So sorry, everybody. Let's see.
You want to, yeah.
No, not that. Okay, I'm going to try to minimize the screen and see what happens. No.
Are you looking for your PowerPoint?
Yeah.
So if you click on the share, oh, there it is.
Okay, let's go back to the very beginning. Okay. I'm hoping this works for you.
For centuries, wild horses ran like rivers. Mustangs are nomads. Their homes change with the seasons. A stallion trots to the tempo of silent drums, ears pricked forward, his nostrils flare. A war dance has begun. America's Mustangs are disappearing. Since 1971, over 300,000 Mustangs have been rounded up and removed from the West. The last wild horse may have already been born. America's remaining Mustangs have defenders. Velma Johnston took a stand. They called her Wild Horse Annie. In classrooms across the country, she told students about America's wild horses. She understood the power of young people. When they joined her fight, Velma knew the horses had a chance.
Okay. Before we go on, number one, Lynn, are we communicating?
Are we communicating? I can hear you. I can see the PowerPoint. I think everyone else can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, I am not the techno wizard that the people who were on before me are, and I apologize for that. But I am really happy to be with all of you librarians. I miss having colleagues. I was a high school teacher and middle school teacher for years, and I like sticking my head out the door and consulting with my colleagues. So while we're doing this workshop, I'd like you to feel free to make notes, or I believe, Lynn, this is being recorded, correct? So,
yes.
Okay, so if attendees, if you are watching this and all of a sudden you get this great idea for something to use in your summer program, feel free to go online, start looking around, making notes, and then come back in whenever you feel like it. I know when I go to conferences, sometimes I'll get a great idea for a story. And I run back up to my hotel room, and you know, sometimes it's too bad because you lose the workshop, but you get something that you can use with your patrons, or in my case, with my readers. So, a very brief kind of bio thing. I grew up in Los Angeles, Lynn said, and there is a picture that my dad had of me stashed away. In Los Angeles, not only was I allergic to everything that had fur, but I never saw horses except on television. And, you know, occasionally I got to go riding, but because I was allergic to everything, I'd usually end up having a terrible allergic reaction to the dust and the fur and things like that. But I did outgrow it. And when I became a teacher, I was writing. I sold my first story when I was in high school. It's called The Stallion Song. And my mother realized pretty early on that piano lessons weren't my thing, so she apprenticed me to a professional writer who was also a missionary. So it was kind of an interesting mix, but she taught me about writing for publication. And I was able to do that even when I was in high school. So when I talk to kids in school visits, live school visits, I often tell them that they can't start too early. All right. The Phantom Stallion books started after I went on a cattle drive. I went on a 10-day cattle drive. And while I was out on the range, and this was out in the Black Rock Desert, I do have sort of a bias against Burning Man, because when I was out in the Black Rock Desert, I loved the serenity, and I learned to really fall in love with the beauty of the high desert. So, but I was riding on this 10-day cattle drive, researching a story for Nevada Magazine. And I rode a little horse named Ace, who is in the Phantom Stallion books. And he was pretty sassy. won't tell you that whole story. I could talk about Ace forever, but he is in the Phantom Stallion books, a fictionalized version that's pretty close to reality. And one morning, the night before, it had rained so hard that we had to dig a moat around our tents. And in the morning, it was foggy. I mean, kind of unusual for the Black Rock Desert, at least my experience. And as we were riding, I rode what's called drag. I rode drag because Ace would buck if he had an audience. So I would ride in the back of the herd. And as we were riding along in the fog behind, I can't remember exactly how many cattle we had, over 200 head. I looked down this little slot canyon and I thought I saw a wild horse. But just as I saw that horse, Ace saw a cow breaking from the herd, went after it, and by the time I got back, that wild horse that had been in that slot canyon was gone. That mirage, that wild horse, whatever it was, jump-started my imagination. And that's when I started writing the Phantom Stallion books. And I was very fortunate that the single title book that I thought I was writing became a series. Okay, next page. This is my book, Wild at Heart. I was asked by the editor who bought the first Phantom Stallion book to write a nonfiction book about wild horses. And this is when I fell in love with paleontology. Did someone speak to me?
I think we just had some background matter.
Cool. All right. Just making sure everyone's still there. But I wrote this nonfiction book, and speaking as an English teacher, I was delighted to get a bunch of science awards for it. And I become really interested in STEM education and STEAM. And I'll talk more about this book later. I'm going to use a bunch of photographs from it to talk with you about using fact and, fiction and nonfiction with your patrons. One of the things I want to talk about is some Nevada links with animal stories. Now, this is Wild Horse Annie's grave. Velma Johnston lived in Nevada from about, let me see, from, where did I put her? Okay, 1912 to 1917. And you can see her grave if you're driving on the freeway from Truckee toward Reno and you look to your right, you'll see a cross, a big white cross, views cemetery. It's open only during daylight hours. Before I go on to something, I'd like you to look really closely at the bas-relief that is on her grave. Look at the positions of those horses. Fix that in your brain. And look at those horses. Melissa got a picture of these wild horses that absolutely echo they mirror really the horses that are on Wild Horse Annie's grave. Something you need to know is that a an awful lot of the research about Wild Horse Annie, who was a Nevadan, a native Nevadan, and who lived her whole life here, is that she's been mythologized. A lot of work, I'm going to hold this up. A lot of work that people have done is based on the Marguerite Henry book called Mustang Wild Spirit of the West, which is a great book. And I grew up reading Marguerite Henry. However, she fictionalized Wild Horse Annie's life. So a lot of authors, including me, have really perpetuated some myths. And I'm working on a nonfiction book that I hope will dispel some of those myths. I'm going to stop here for just a minute. It would be an understatement to say that we're in challenging times. As librarians, I think picking the horse stories, animal stories, tales with tales is a really good idea, because kids will be more receptive to tender topics like bullying, like death, like status, things like that, when they're seen through the lens of animals. So you're not being preachy to kids, you are giving them access to some tough topics, and they can learn a lot from those topics through animals. I'm going to be talking about that as we go along. I don't know how to say this other than that kids will look at the natural world and they can gain something from the world of animals, especially other mammals. And they can be comforted, and they can learn, and they won't feel so alone in some of the things that are going on around them. All right, back to something happier. This is the real phantom stallion. When I saw that imaginary horse down the Slot Canyon, I did not know that on the Virginia range of northern Nevada, there was a horse that people were calling the Phantom. I had already written about 4 or 5 Phantom Stallion books when I discovered that there was a wild horse that they were calling the Phantom. I discovered that because I got a phone call from Diane Nelson at the Wild Horse Sanctuary near Mount Shasta in Northern California. And she had been selling my books in her gift shop. And she said, well, we're taking in another stallion because of you. And I said, okay. And then she said, it's the Phantom. And I had to tell her, Diane, the Phantom only lives in my imagination. He's not a real horse. And she said, no, he is a real horse. And it turned out that this real Phantom Stallion had been a Mustang who lived up in the mountains above Carson City, above Dayton. And he lived up there during the summer, and then every winter he would come down into the flatlands where it was warmer, and his band of wild horses would winter where it was warmer. Well, one year when he came down with his band, a housing development had been built on his winter area. And at first he thought it was great because there were lawns in front of houses, there was water running down gutters, and so he thought he was in wild horse heaven. But people's dogs started chasing the horses, and horses pooped on their lawns. That's still going on in some places where people are feeding wild horses. And so the horses were gathered up and taken back to the mountains. However, it was really cold up there during the winter. So the phantom knew where he was supposed to be in the winter, brought his herd down. Well, he was gathered up until he only had one mare and one foal left. And he was taken to the Nevada State Prison. They were going to castrate him, and I think he was about 17 years old, maybe 12, someplace in there. He was not easy to age check by opening his mouth. When they decided they were going to try to rehome him, some wild horse advocates in Dayton got in touch with the Wild Horse Sanctuary in Shasta and with me, and we were able to adopt him and turn him loose in the Wild Horse Sanctuary. Here he is in that sanctuary, and he's charging Melissa Farlow, the photojournalist that I worked with on the on Wild at Heart. She was doing a story for National Geographic. She's a Pulitzer Prize winning photojournalist. So all of these pictures are her, and they're amazing. The things she deletes off her cameras and her phone are pictures that we would all die happy if we'd taken them. But and it was Melissa's idea while she was working for National Geographic to save the pictures they didn't use, because they only used about 7 in their article about wild horses, to get together and the two of us write a book about wild horses. So one of the things that you might want to know, this is Southern Nevada. And let me stay on my notes so I can give you some access here. The Tule Springs Fossil Bed National Monument is now open, and they're building onto it. They're going to try to do gift shops and interpretive walks and things like that. This area of Southern Nevada was probably one of the places that equines evolved before the Ice Age. And this is what that area looked like in Tule Springs. There were mammoths, there were horses, there were dire wolves, there were American lions, all kinds of huge mammals. And the research that volunteers have done down there is just amazing. I was down there shortly before the pandemic kicked in to do some school visits, and I was amazed at how much progress they're making with limited funds. The Tule Springs Monument almost didn't happen because the land, which you saw in the first picture, had already been, well, it belonged to the city of Las Vegas, and they had already mapped out a freeway exit that would have gone over the fossil beds. And 3 women, 2 of whom were not native Nevadans, started a campaign to save those fossil beds. Otherwise, right now, they would have been under a freeway. As I'm going along, what I'd like you to do, in fact, you can stop right now and make some notes. If I'm going to offer myself as a resource, because I've done the nonfiction book, because all of my Phantom Stallion books are fact-based fiction, done a ton of research, and I have like a lot of contacts. If there are things that you want to do, say for a grab and go packet or some kind of online animal workshops with your patrons, young and old, I am happy for you to get in touch with me. I'm going to tell you right now so you can jot it down, even though it'll be available later. My email is Terri, Terri, at phantomstallion.com. Also, when you go to my websites, and there are two of them, one is terrifarley.com, one is hearinghorses.org. There are my social media accounts, and you can get to me through there. But please don't hesitate to get in touch. All right, I'm going to pause for a second here and see if you have any questions before I press on.
I'm looking through chat. I don't see anything. Has anyone thought about doing programs with wild horses this summer? Has anyone seen a wild horse? When I have visitors, that's one of the things we do. We cruise between here and Virginia City and try and find the wild horses, and it is always so exciting.
Well, and that's one of the things that we've been hoping the state of Nevada would capitalize on. There are people doing wild horse safaris, and my books are published in a bunch of countries, about 27 countries. And when I hear from readers from other countries and from other states, that's on their bucket list. They want to see a wild horse roaming free. And, you know, it is a very low-cost business for anyone. And I know two people who are doing this very successfully, although the pandemic has not helped. They will take people out to see wild horses, and they will have photo safaris. And sometimes they just take a picnic lunch. And these are people who know where the wild horses hang out, wild horses that are familiar with their vehicles, and they will let people just watch the family interactions. Speaking of which, wild horses have three things that are important to them. And as you are, wait, but did we have any more questions before I press on? No. Okay. The three things that are most important to wild horses are things that we have in common with them and that most other mammals have in common with them. And that is family, freedom, and food. What you see right here is a wild horse who appears to be alone. In fact, he is a wild stallion overlooking his band. And wild horses, usually when they're going to water, the stallion will leave the lead mare in charge while he goes down to check out the safety of going to water or going to a grazing area. Then he goes down there, he looks around. When he comes back up, his band goes down, but he remains in a vantage point where he can see if there are any predators of any kind who will be attacking the horses. Safety is with the band, is with the family for wild horses. It is what they need. It's where they learn everything that they need. They learn where there is water. They learn where there's food. They learn that the elders know what signs of dangers to watch for. So when you're teaching books or when you're showing books about animals, you can talk about family structure as well. And in fact, you don't even have to talk about it. Kids will absorb, especially with wild animals, the family structures that are important, in fact, are vital for staying alive. Let me make sure I'm on my right page of my notes. Nope, I'm not, but that's okay.
Sure, we do have a comment
Okay.
that you might find interesting and want to comment on. Jenna in Carson City said she had two stallions fighting over a ban on my property a little while ago.
Oh my gosh.
Well, the stallion rounded them all up into our fenced dog run while he went off and fought the encroaching stallion off. Then he came back and let them leave.
That is amazing. Did you get pictures?
Wow.
Now, I've only been near wild horse fights on Shackelford Banks Island off the coast of North Carolina. And I was working with Earthwatch, and we were documenting wild horse behavior. It was a blind study about contraception, but I was on the edge of wild horse fights that got serious, and I would not want one in my yard. That's all I'm saying. That must have been exciting and kind of threatening. This is a wild horse roundup. You'll notice there are 2 helicopters, and I've attended about a dozen roundups going back to let's see, I think I went to my first one in 1980. And they've changed a lot. After 9/11, they changed completely. The public was not allowed to watch since then, and it's become very, they're using, instead of bringing the horses in at a walk or a trot, they use 2 helicopters and bring them in at a gallop. If you read my Wild Horse, Wild at Heart, there's a lot of information about the roundups. This is one of those things where you could work with kids or adults about fact checking. When I wrote Wild at Heart, I had 3 consultations with Houghton Mifflin Harcourt's legal department. And what they told me, because I was saying things that appeared to be our photographs and our interviews appeared to be contrary to what the Department of the Interior was posting on their website. I was told by the Houghton Mifflin's legal department that I needed to keep all of my notes and that they would back me to a certain point, but that legally, if I was challenged by the federal government, we were going to have some serious conversations. So, as I have a background in journalism, and I kept all of my notes. The odd thing was that the Bureau of Land Management, which had been so cooperative with me before 9/11, stopped. They hired a lot of marshals, people that I used to go out with. You'll notice in my very first Phantom Stallion book, I dedicated the book to some BLM people, that's Bureau of Land Management. And that changed. That just changed. And the family structure of wild horses is shattered. The first thing they do now in these mechanized roundups is separate the families. The mares are, the mothers are put in one pen, the stallions are put in another pen, and the horses that they guess at a run like this are past the age of nursing, so weanlings are put in another pen. It is chaotic, it is violent, and it is the loudest thing that I have ever heard. The stallions, as one of our attendees mentioned, fight each other because all of the stallions are put in one pen. They don't know what to do. The only enemy they've ever had are other stallions trying to take their families. And so they turn on each other, and it is a bloodbath until they put those horses in trucks and take them to government pens. Here's another approach to working with especially young people. I'm thinking like young adults, middle grade young adults. I have a workshop called that helps adults or kids look at their own skills and how they can leverage them to things they're interested in. You know, here is Melissa Farlow, who worked with me, who buried that camera in the ground during a roundup. She's a photojournalist, but she became interested in wildlife and then especially wild horses. And so she used her photojournalist skills to explore the topic of wild horses. Maybe you have kids, you know, your youth services. So maybe you have kids who think that they can't help with, say, global warming or air pollution because their only skill is drawing. Maybe they're artists. Maybe they play soccer. Maybe they're skateboarders. There are skateboarding kids who are actually going out and distributing handouts about homelessness. So again, this is a whole workshop that I do called Backbones, Not Wishbones. I did it at TLA, and it's for librarians talking about helping especially young adults leverage their skills to make an impact on issues they care about. So that's what Melissa is doing here. Here's one of her photographs that she got from burying that camera. That's the hoof that destroyed the camera. All right, before I go on with family things, more family things about wild horses, let's see. I want to talk to you a little bit about audiobooks. This is sort of self-serving. My experience as a teacher with audiobooks was that I used them, especially when I was teaching Shakespeare. Anything that really was meant to be performed, I used audiobooks, sort of like a read-along. And I would have my students listen as we went through Elizabethan language, of course. I'm a purist when it comes to Shakespeare. I don't believe in translations into, also in the Old Testament. I like the old stuff. It's got beautiful language. So what I discovered is that my students were comprehending at least, 2 or 3 grade levels above their usual reading skills. They got the context, they got the expression with audiobooks that they didn't get just trying to read it or listen to me read it. You know, we had professional actors on those audio books. And not only did it help with their comprehension, but it really built enthusiasm. And by that, I mean, they would listen to a scene, let's say in Othello, where you've got the bad guy, Iago, and you've got poor Othello who is just, you know, getting more and more jealous. They'd listen to that. Or they'd listen to Julius Caesar, where they're planning an assassination, and the kids would want to act those out. And I really think that part of that was due to the audiobooks. Well, now I have audiobooks coming out, but I really would like to know how you as librarians are using those. Who do you see checking them out? I've got a survey, and if you want to, please, if you would like to take it and help me figure out as an educator and as an author how you use audiobooks, I would love that. You can email me at terri@phantomstallion.com, and I will send you the survey. I would really appreciate your input. You are the experts. I haven't been in the classroom for a while, and I've never been a librarian. So I would really like to know all of your insights on audiobooks, if you have the time to do that. It's a short survey. Okay.
Well, we have one comment. Jamie from Winnemucca says that her English teacher did the same thing, the audio and the books. And then we have Ramona from Lyon County who says she loves audiobooks. So absolutely. I know audiobooks, and people learn differently, right? You hear, we see, we hear. I tend to like to fidget. So yeah, if you want to email Terri and answer her survey, that would be appreciated. All right, I'll shut up.
Okay. No, that's okay. I am, you know, kind of begging for your help. I've got a new website that's at the end of this presentation called hearinghorses.org. My son, who is a techie by training, helped me set up that website that has better audio. So you can go there and listen to the audio books and explore. I've not only got links to my audio books, but I'm hoping kids will go there. I've got some wild horse sounds, like the sounds of a filly who runs away from her mom and her mom's trying to gather her up. And so you can hear that audio. And I've got friends on the range, my wild horse safari people that I mentioned, who are gathering audio for me. I've also got songs about horses. So I'm trying to appeal to those, to a different kind of learning than just reading the text. And I'll tell you what, the early childhood education people are learning that little kids, really little kids, like toddlers, are having trouble with language because of masks. Not only do they have to learn to interpret the facial expressions of people with half the face missing, but they also, you know, language, part of that is, you know this, but part of that is imitating the way people's mouths move. Well, they're not getting that anymore. So one of the reasons I worked with my agent to get my books on audio for the very first time is because I think that that's important for the kids to hear stories. And I'm also trying, my wonderful agent is working on that, to get the Phantom Stallion books reissued. Right now, unless you already have them in your collection, they may be hard to find. And that's because I got the rights back from HarperCollins and I haven't self-published. I don't know how to do that. Some of you may have heard of my husband, Corey Farley, who is a columnist, and I had him go to a workshop about self-publishing, and I still haven't done anything. So I've got a couple of publishers who are interested in reissuing the books. Fingers crossed. All right, next page. Mentioned STEM, something you can do with animal stories, whether they're fact or fiction, is look at science that's just woven through the stories. For instance, this little colt appears to be a gray horse, kind of a bluish gray horse with a red mane. Well, this was taken, Melissa took this in winter, and this horse had adapted to snow. I had no idea till I started working on nonfiction that wild horses actually did adaptive coloration, camouflage, like other animals. Used to own a chameleon, but didn't know horses did this. When we took another picture of him in summer, he was purely red like his mane because he lived in an area that had a lot of red dirt. Another thing you can talk about that just fits naturally into any of these animal stories is family structure. I mentioned earlier that the stallion in a wild band, and this is true in a lot of wild mammals. I have deer in my yard quite often, and I'm observing them. But the males, in this case, the stallion, is the protector, and he usually, when you see wild horses on the run, what you see is the lead mare is in front and the stallion is in the back. And what he does is watch for any old horses, any foals, any horses with injuries that are lagging at the end. And he protects them from, think of the Discovery Channel. Their predators usually are looking for the weakest. The lead mare, on the other hand, has the maps in her head. She knows where there's water. She knows where to cross a river rather than try to swim across it. They can walk across. She is also the disciplinarian. I mentioned when I was on Shackelford Banks Island for Earthwatch, and the lead mare and some of the old mares have no problem disciplining the colts. They will also tell the new mothers what they're supposed to be doing. So again, mammals, structure. Another STEM approach, sort of, to any animal stories, where do these animals live? And if you were doing like a grab and go packet, something like that, you could have kids compare where these animals are. What do they eat? Where do they sleep? How do they sleep? These happen to be horses in a sagebrush environment. And they, you can look at them. They are healthy. It doesn't look like much of a place that they would thrive, but they absolutely do. Before the Ice Age, during the Paleolithic era, equines, horses, were the most widely dispersed mammal. And that's because they're so adaptable. They learn to live any place. And, they are all over the globe in all kinds of environments. And that's something, the environment, not necessarily saving the environment, but having kids be aware of different environments that animals live in. Okay. Okay, pausing for a minute. If you want to make any notes, if you have any questions. Okay, I'm going to go on. Body language. One of the most fun things for me when I do classroom visits, and I can do it with some of the virtual visits too, is talk about wild horse body language. You can, again, apply this to any animal in any story, fiction or nonfiction. With little kids, especially preschoolers, kindergarten, first and second, really early elementary, wild horse body language is so much fun. And especially if I have a rowdy class, one of the things I teach them is this. I show them how a wild horse listens. And I can have them listen while I'm in the classroom. And it's surprising how much better that works than saying shh, or holding a hand up and going, you know, doing something that they're used to. If I do this and have them mirror that for me, they will start listening again. Another fun thing that I can do with very young children, and this goes back to language and learning communication skills, is have them look at pictures and ask them what they think is going on, what emotion, what feelings these horses are having. One of the other workshops I give is called What It Means to Be a Wild Horse. And I talk a lot about body language. Well, this is the real Phantom after he is in the sanctuary in Shingletown, which is by Mount Shasta in Northern California. What you see is a behavior called snaking. And take a second. I'm sure you can immediately tell whether this is a positive or a negative interaction. Snaking is giving really adamant instructions to another horse. And you'll see, I'm pointing, but you'll see the tail on the left side of your screen of a horse going away. Well, that's another stallion who was trying to take one of the Phantom's mares in this sanctuary. And when you see him do this to a horse, the kids have no problem interpreting that. They know it's negative. And it pretty much means you do what I tell you to do. You can also talk about misinterpreting actions or what people say. These two horses aren't fighting, they're playing. They're young stallions who got crazy during this foggy day, and they actually got in trouble with the lead mare because they were play fighting, kind of roughhousing, except they're outside, and running around and just being too rough and putting some of the babies in danger. But what I have the kids do is ask if I ask if they think these horses are playing or fighting, and then we talk about misinterpretation. Another misinterpretation, usually when kids look at this slide, they say, oh, well, these horses are actually not being cozy with each other. They're smelling poop. If you look way down on the bottom, you'll see it. That's called a stud pile. And when another horse poops, they can read it and interpret it. I have several poop slides because they work so well to help people remember what I'm talking about. Adults and children will remember my poop slides. What this is, these horses can sniff that poop and decide if that horse is a danger, if it's well or sick or strong or weak. this is another communication slide. Wild horses take care of themselves. And what they do is,
I'm not sure if it's me or if it's Terry's connection.
I think it's Terry's connection,
Okay.
because I thought it was my connection at first.
Can I get audio from somebody?
Yeah, Terry, you're kind of frozen. And we're not hearing you.
Oh.
Well, I hear you now.
Or my pig.
You're fading in and out.
You're not here. Okay.
Okay. Well, it's a good time for a break.
Oh dear.
There she is.
But I still see her. There you are. You dropped out.
How long ago?
Maybe about a minute.
Okay.
But you had an interesting poop question though.
Okay, what is that?
How do you stop children from giggling when you mention poop?
Oh, I encourage it. I absolutely encourage kids to giggle when I do poop. And then, let's see if I've got a poop picture coming up. By the way, those horses are really fighting. That's not play fighting.
We don't see your pictures anymore though.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
She's still co-host?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, let me try to go.
Well, Terry, I think we're about at our hour though.
Okay.
So, does anyone have any questions? Do you want to, so I think we talked about how people can access your books. Is it through Amazon or through you?
And please visit hearinghorses.org so you can listen to the books. And if you look at the top of I got one more thing to say. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Last thing. If you go to hearinghorses.org, which you might as well do now that I'm not on anymore, you'll notice at the top there's a kind of fantasy, dreamy picture. I commissioned that with an artist because I know a lot of kids are really stressed right now, and I'm hoping that audiobooks can help them fall asleep at night. The reason I mention that is because when my son Matthew, who's fine now, he's the techie, had leukemia as a little kid, audiobooks helped offset some of the nightmares and things he got from chemotherapy drugs. Okay, a lot of kids right now are having nightmares about all the stress around them, the pandemic, politics, their parents, money, and I'm hoping that we can soothe kids with some stories as they go to sleep. Please look at hearinghorses.org, or please write to me, Terri at phantomstallion.com, and I would love to communicate with you. Thank you so much. I'm sorry we fell out at the end.
Oh, thank you so much, Terry. So again, she is an author, a journalist. She has worked with children, and she knows everything in the world about wild horses. So if you want to do any kind of programming around that, she can work with you. She's available for presentations, and I think she's updated her presentation rate sheet. So if you're looking for performers, please get in touch with her, and I will have her information posted. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for doing the Zoom. I know it's like new. And we'll get all figured out. I'll get it all figured out. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. All righty. Well, everybody, we are at the sharing part. Oh, maybe we're at the what animal sounds you can make part. All right, let me get to the PowerPoint. Okay, again, there she is. There is her website. We're at sharing. Jess, if you're here, are you here? You are our first scheduled sharer.
Okay.
Did you want to share your screen? No, you didn't. You were just going to talk.
I'm just going to talk.
All right.
I don't know if you can see me.
I can see the top of your head.
How's that?
This is Jess from Churchill County, everybody.
So one of the activities I really like to do with kids is to do measuring activities. And I don't know how this will work as a take-home packet, but in the library, we've had a lot of fun with it. And I ran across these little cloth tape measures that wind up. And I thought that would be a good part of the take-home kit. But let me back up a little bit. The things I've done here, like I'll find out the actual measurements of, say, a shark. And then we will measure it with a real tape measure and use like our stacks of DVDs or whatever to give the kids an idea of how big it really is. And then I've done measuring things like with the emperor penguin so that the kids could measure themselves against it and see how big or how much bigger it was than them or whatever. Anyway, so as a take-home packet, I wanted to try to incorporate some of the things that I've tried before. And actually, the Great Basin presentation really added to that. And those, you can incorporate more measuring into those activities as well. They talked about the wingspan of the eagle, which is just all part of it. And the couple of books I found, one I really like is called Actual Size by Steve Jenkins. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. And he's, there's different sizes of animals. It goes how big is an octopus's eye. And then they have a really tiny animal, some kind of little fish that's about 2 inches long. But I just think the idea of measuring, and I think if the kids have their own tape measure, it would be awesome, an awesome activity. So I'm going to work on that. And then in your handout, I also found a couple things that I thought we could, I could use as prizes if I wanted to include those in the summer reading program. But I put all of that information on the handout that's available. Anyway, so I'm going to try it. I don't know how it will work, but I like to try new things. So I'm going to do that. And I have one more little comment. I tried an activity as a take-home package. Maybe some of you have seen this activity. It's a little snowy owl project, and it's made with a pine cone. And this has been by far one of the most popular projects I've done. I mean, I think I had to make more packets. I think we probably gave out 60 packets of this. And I demonstrated it on my story time by holding it in my hand. It was really cute. Anyway, and it's just made with the pine cone, a cotton ball, googly eyes, and then I cut out some little felt wings.
It's friggin', it's just adorable.
Yeah, so I just thought I would share it since it was such a popular one. And it went across all ages too, so anyway. But that's what I have.
If you don't have pine cones, let me know. We've got millions of them.
Right, I know. My coworker Diane had a lot, which was fortunate. So anyway, that's what I got. So.
And you see this I always have within an arm's length of me. I love tape measures. Right.
Right, I do too.
My friend carries one around in her purse.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I have.
Thank you
Enjoyed the
so
conference. Thanks.
much.
Can I ask you a question, Jess?
Sure.
Is the measurements in metric or just inches?
Inches.
Okay.
Is what I've done is inches. But on the tape measure, it has both.
Yeah.
You know, but
you
I
could
like
use
the cloth tape measures because I think in my mind it's going to be safer. I'm always a little bit spooked by those metal ones that kind of snap back or whatever.
They do. Sounded like, so the handout she was talking about, I have that, I put it on the Padlet, and we talked about the Padlet yesterday, and I'll briefly share it again today. That's where everything is gonna live from this 2-day presentation.
And Alicia and Julie from Pahrump say they, us at Pahrump Community Library made a pool noodle horse. Interesting. It is super cute and we'd like to share it, but we don't have a camera.
Oh, send
Can you
me a
take a
picture and I'll put it on the Padlet, okay? Just take a picture and send it to me and we'll share it up. Okay.
Yeah.
Someone else commented. Bruce, do you want to read what Lori and White Pine shared?
I can't, I'm zooming up to find it. Can you, if you have it, can you share the comment?
All right. White Pine County, some of our ideas thus far. Number 1, have a bingo card of tales and space to write the tale they read. And turn in for a prize. So like if you have a dog tale, then they'd write the dog story they read. If you had an alligator tale, they'd write the alligator story they read. That would be so fun, right? Dinosaur tale. Number 2, dress your pet or stuffed animal as your favorite character. That would be super fun. Dress your cat as Harry Potter. Okay. Number 3, write a tale about one of your tailed friends. So write a story about your cat.
Or dog.
About your dinosaur, right? Number 4, have a bulletin board of name that tale. How would that work? So you put a picture of a tale up, or just put different tales up, have a bulletin board. Oh, number 5, have a cop bring and train dogs. We did that once. We had the canine unit come to story time. It was very, very popular day.
And also don't forget the fire department, they have emergency trained dogs to search for people. You know, so don't forget them as well. So call your fire department or emergency services people.
Okay, I have been sent the picture, so I will pop that up.
Cool.
Oh, it's cute. Oh, it's super cute. Oh my word. All right. Bruce, I want to get the Padlet up. So will you share what Ann Ebner from Washoe wrote?
Okay. And let me get down. I am having trouble scrolling with this. Okay, Ann Ebner from Washoe County. For your very cute owl project, did you read the story online, then invite the families? I'm sorry, something got added. So, online, then invite the families to come to the library and get the craft packet? I guess that's you, Jess?
That's a question for Jess.
Yeah.
Are you still there?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
Yeah, I read a winter story with different, and that did involve different kinds of tracks, but it did happen to have an owl in it. And I had run across that, but I did demonstrate it online and then invited people because we give a packet out every week with an activity that goes along with our story time. So that was just the one for that week. And then we also, after we have the pile of packets ready, Joe usually will take a picture and post it on Facebook or Instagram and say, the packets are ready. So,
yeah.
But yeah, but that was a big one. That was amazing how that one went over.
I think it's a really good idea for you guys to film you guys putting together a craft and maybe putting it up on your YouTube or your website so that so parents can see what it's supposed to be and how it looks and things like that. Yeah. So I think that's a great idea.
I did the Screaming Balloon project off of StarNet last week and demonstrated it online. And so there's been a lot of interest in that too. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And Pam Larson says that some of our ideas are making wild animal masks, good one, animal rock painting, even better, building mason bee homes, and making bird puppets. I like that.
I want to build a little bee habitat. I've seen them everywhere. I would love to figure out how to do that and then actually get bees into it.
Mm. And there's a whole bunch of side stuff, scientific stuff that you can throw in about how bees make honey and flowers they like, and et cetera, et cetera. We have to save the bees, or we don't have any bees, we're all gone. And from Jasmine Mendoza, we are thinking about doing an art class via Zoom to draw horses. Will tie well with Terri. Yeah, everybody keep that one in mind.
Very cool. I know if Betsy is here and if she's still willing, she had offered to share up some things that Henderson is doing. There she is.
Hi, sorry, my camera's a little weird. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so one of the things, we've been doing the weekly craft projects, but one of our issues is Henderson is a very large area, and we have 3 buildings where people can come to pick up the kits. So for the summer, we're partnering with our Boys and Girls Clubs as distribution sites. Mm-hmm. And instead of doing the weekly kit, we're gonna put together like there's essentially 8 weeks in the summer. So we're gonna put together a kit that has the 8 weeks together, and they would pick up one. And for those, we are using our LSTA grant for this. And we are focusing it on the children entering 1st to 3rd grade, because we thought it would be easier to start with just one and then possibly expand that in the future. We're still working on putting our exact craft ideas, but we will include all the needed supplies. It will be art craft and also some science stuff, but we're going to put the crayons in there, the glue, the scissors, all of that stuff. So that one of the things I just really wanted to share, like partnering to the boys and girls, because they're in different sites, and also those are more of our low income sites, and those children are probably less likely to be able to get to our buildings.
So are you are you asking them to have a library card in order to participate? Yep, excellent. Nope. Access for everyone.
Also Jasmine Mendoza. Excuse me.
Sorry, no one.
Jasmine Mendoza also added, I really like the pet foods for fines, and that is a great idea. And I think it would be awesome to offer during the summer, partnering with the animal shelters. Another idea with that would be making dog beds for animal shelters. Yes, very good.
One thing we did too in our little crafty space, well, we didn't do it. I was planning on doing it, but never did it, was making catnip toys for the shelters. And all you do is like, you just sew a little square and put some catnip in it. That was all planned and ready to go, and it just never happened. But it's super easy, right? Especially if you, I mean, everyone's got fabric, it seems, from making masks. So all your spare fabric scraps.
Yeah.
Henderson, I know we kind of like interrupted. Was there more to add, or are you going to do videos too for all of your stuff to go with it?
So we do some videos. It really depends. We would like to have like a video link, but also in case they don't have access to the videos, have written instructions that are included in this. So basically they will only pick up the one box for the whole summer from these sites. And we'll have an evaluation in there, which we'll ask them either to drop off at the library or back at the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
They mentioned LSTA. So for everyone out there, we will have small LST mini grants available. We have big competitive grants available, and the deadline is for that is tomorrow, but we'll have small ones available again that will cover the summer reading program. You just need to fill out the application and submit it. And you can contact me if you have questions about that.
I also would like to point out that your local animal shelters are very good people to connect with for your programming. It just happened when, you know, we just started talking about it, and I'd really encourage you guys to get in touch with them, because I'm pretty sure they have somebody there who'd be happy to come and talk to the kids, maybe even bring in a few animals, do tours of the facility if, you know, COVID allows it, of course. It's just like a very good resource. And Pam did recycle old t-shirts for dog toys. Wow. And she even put on a YouTube clip. So, you know, wow, Pam, yeah.
And old socks, right?
Yeah.
I have one where I take an old sock that's got holes, or I only have one side, and you put it around a water bottle, and then it makes that crinkly noise they love.
Yeah.
Okay, Bruce, you're up for sharing the CSLP social media kit. You want to do that? I know you sent an email out, but we'll just talk about it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Let me find my.
Are you ready? Do you want me to share the Padlet?
Give me 1 second. I thought I had. Okay. Yes, I'm ready. I'm going to. Let me just. Thought I had this all set up.
Well, I'm scrolling for comments.
Okay. Got it. Sorry. Took me a second. I had more screens open than I thought. This is the living CSLP document for your programming, and as you can see, it's pretty freaking cool. It's divided by month and year, caption, hashtag, which is a really good idea because I have to remember to hashtag my items sometimes when I'm sharing them, especially if you're using social media. This is for social media, and it's a very good means to keep yourself organized, and it's a great record keeper for when you have to write your reports and things like that. And as you can see, it's divided by month, caption, hashtag, graphic image, folder, link, if you got a link, topic, and brainstorming. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit.
Well, we were supposed to start in September.
Yeah, we were supposed to, well, they just let us know about this a couple of weeks ago. But we're, if you can see in January 2021, in the first week, they have the caption for celebrating the new year with the new reading goal. They got their hashtags, which is, like I said, pretty nice. And on the second week, as you can see over here in the folder, they got their copyrighted images and slogans and their hashtag links, and it's a pretty smart idea, I think. And this is the one I really liked because this ties in with Tails and Tales really well. In February, celebrate the Chinese New Year by learning all the animals in the Chinese zodiac. We did this in Miami, the Year of the Dragon, and it was like such an amazing thing for the kids. They loved every minute of it. They liked finding out if they were a snake, a tiger, or, you know, go down the list of things.
I'm a monkey.
You're a monkey, and I'm a snake. and the good part about it is that there are a lot of imagery there, a lot of crafts you can use, and you can get the Asian American community to really participate in it. We had a lot of Chinese restaurants near us, and the Asian Community Foundation come in and give lectures all across the libraries. And it's a really good plan. And this is the one I didn't know. It's like March 21st is Happy Birthday, Dr. Seuss. That's another good idea for your programming. So this is like a lot of good ideas all on one site, and everybody adds to it, the more ideas you can get. And in a pinch, it really helps a lot. I also wanted to show you guys their Instagram page, because they got a lot of cool graphics there that I think you guys might be interested in sharing and things like that.
Right, this goes pretty well with what Becky from Beanstalk was talking about, how just start doing your social media with this. It'll be fun, and it'll be fun. No doom scrolling.
Right.
Which has
And
been a new favorite word.
no, I know, that was a good word. I like that. This is their Facebook for the official Summer Library Programming Group. And right now, I didn't sign up for it, so I don't know everything that's in it, but you can sign up for it. And they've already got those. And don't forget Twitter as well. But you need to really have good hashtags for Twitter. You know, and I recommend that your hashtags be the name of your library, Tales and Tales, and whatever cool thing that you guys are doing or want to remind them about. And that's pretty much it. Let me stop sharing.
And if any of your summer reading stuff is LSTA funded, tag them too. They really do make use of social media that you send. It's good to show our elected officials how LSTA funds are being used to keep kids on track during the summer. Does anyone else want to share? We're wrapping up.
We got a couple of comments. Debbie Gunderman said we had a program set up with the SPCA last summer. Did that go well? I hope so. And Dana says she's a dragon.
Mandy's got us all beat. Purple fire snake.
Yeah, she's a purple fire snake. Kira's the dog. I'm not touching that one. I'm married to her. And Pam Larson's tiger. And anybody else? Oh, Debbie says it was canceled?
Oh.
That's sad. Was that because of COVID? Yeah, hopefully that'll be over by summer, or at least better under control.
All right, okay, I'm gonna share the Padlet. And I'm not gonna mess up this time. So I hope you see it. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this is where everything will go. I have the teaching books direct link to their diverse toolkit. There's Jess's measuring activity. Here is Terri Farley's information, and I'm going to update it with a few of the additional websites she mentioned. Here's the CSLP social media toolkit. And then I have one more share. I'm going to stop share, and I'm going to put up Alicia's horse, if I can find it, because I just downloaded it. Bruce, can you put our survey link in the chat?
Yes.
Okay. We're almost there. I'm gonna right now share. Oops. Good grief. Do you hear my cat snoring? Well, I am having all sorts of problems now with Zoom again. There we go. Sorry. All right, one last thing. Pool noodle horse. Look at that. Oh my God. And Pete the cat. Pete the cat is one of my faves. All right, stop share. That is it. I think we're gonna wrap up.
And I misspelled survey, it's survey, but
Survey.
you get the idea.
Okay, what else have we got? Does anyone have any last words to share? Thank you all so much. Have a good, well, we have the rest of winter and spring to get through. And then we'll be in summer and it'll be glorious and wonderful. And yes. We have consensus from the animal kingdom. Thank you for attending. All right. Stop recording.